Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show today, Friday. Oh, we got a loaded Friday today. Loaded. If you want to find the program, which it's pretty easy to do, if you'd like to track us down, you can do that. Simply download the app. You can listen to us on the Zone Madison app. You can also find us over on Twitter. At Bill_Michaels, You can track us down over on the Facebook fan page, The Bill Michaels Show on Facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. You can also find us on Instagram that way. But YouTube, that's a great way to watch the program. Go to YouTube.com. Subscribe there, like it, whatever it is you need to do. We always appreciate it. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. Same thing on Twitch TV. If you download the Twitch app or the Kick app, you can follow us at those places as well. And also, you can email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. The website is thebillmichaels.com. And I had mentioned the app, and then you got Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, all those particular ways to find us as well. What a night last night. Here's the question, though. Grant, I will ask you right away. Was last night more about the Chiefs and the ineptitude when it comes to catching the football and some of the mistakes they made? Or was it about the Lions' grit and intestinal fortitude in winning on the road at Arrowhead?
Well, first of all, Bill, outstanding question. That's why you're the big unit. Let me think. I think maybe more about the Chiefs because I think everyone wanted to believe in the Lions and wanted to buy into Dan Campbell. I think last night was more a shocking realization that if Travis Kelce isn't healthy, the Chiefs have awful wide receivers. Right. They suck.
Well, here's the thing, though. Kadarius Toney and company, I mean, some of those receivers helped them win a championship last year. Marquez Valdes-Scantling helped them win a championship last year. I mean, they made plays last season. It looked like Kadarius Toney had, for lack of a better term, like he just had the ghosts or the yips or something. He just did it. When Chris Collinsworth last night, I thought made a very poignant comment when he said that was a lack of confidence catch or attempt. And that's what it looked like, that ball that was thrown behind him. Now, it's not the easiest, ball in a world to catch. I understand that. But last night, that was that lack of confidence catch. And that's what it looked like to me. I mean, the one that bounced off his hands for the pick six, he was already starting to look downfield. That was just concentration. But the one that was behind him, that just looked like he just didn't have confidence in catching the football. Like he didn't have it. And so on one hand, I agree, but I keep coming back to the Lions and thinking they utilized everything that they had. And now they continue to win. Now, what is it? 9 out of their last or 10 out of their last 12 or something like that. They've won. They believe they have this grit. And I agree with that. Now, can they win every game like that? Of course not. They're going to have to get a lot better. But in that atmosphere last night, it was loud. It was crazy down there at Kansas City, and they just kind of held their own. Jahmyr Gibbs is a real deal, man. Jahmyr Gibbs can run the football, and they've got a run game now. They've got some decent guys to throw to. Amon-Ra St. Brown, still incredibly solid. So I think the Lions are real. I don't know how real. We didn't see a lot out of them to make you go, wow. By the way, let me say this. Miking up Hutchinson's parents was terrible. Did anybody else look at it that way? Did you watch when they kept cutting over to Aiden Hutchinson's parents and his dad would just yell, "Way to go, Hutch!" And his mom didn't even have a clue as to what was going on in the game. She kept saying, "What happened? What happened?" She's got the big thing that she had said was, "Check out my big binoculars." That was it. There was nothing to that. I hope they don't do that all season long.
I saw a lot of negative tweets about it. I called a friend last night, talked on 10 minutes on the phone or whatever, so I had it on mute. And then I checked Twitter when I came back. I was like, what did Aiden Hutchinson's parents say that was so bad? Because all I saw was tweets about them being mic'd up.
Right. I didn't see anything. It was just anything that was relevant was his dad just yelling, "Way to go, Hutch." and his mom watching the game and not having a clue as to what happened. I mean, it was like we were going to get this in-depth, insight or something from his parents. And so they mic'd him up because, dad is this bullish, former player and coach, and mom was going to be this in-depth, person giving him, things about her son. It was just, she just kept turning to dad going, what happened? It's like, are you watching a game? Are you in the stadium? Or you're just like one of those, those droid things. It's there, but you're kind of one of the, like a hologram or something. So that was it. There was nothing to that. That was terrible. But all in all, good night for the Detroit Lions. I thought it was a sloppy night for the Kansas City Chiefs. They got a lot of work to do and they're not, when it comes to the Chiefs, and I know the big question today is, can they go out and get somebody? The answer is really no. They can't. I mean, first of all, they're pretty cash strapped. I mean, once you start getting to the point that your quarterback is making the kind of money that he is, you're kind of cash strapped. The Kansas City Chiefs don't have a ton of cash to begin with to just go out and start throwing it around at guys. That's first and foremost. And then secondly, I mean, the bottom line is that, there's only so many guys that are out there that could possibly help them. It says right now their estimated cap space is only $12 million. Patrick Mahomes this year against the cap is making $40 million, 39.6, 18%. Which, what that tells you, last year he broke the record by winning with 14% because it hadn't been done up until last year. Now 18%, no, not going to happen. Not going to happen. They don't have the money to go out and spend on other guys now. And that's going to be something they're going to have to eventually deal with. The other, speaking of money, oof, did you see the money that Joe Burrow got? Joe Burrow just got paid. Cincinnati doesn't have much money to spend either, but Joe Burrow just got his gauge. He got, what was it, $200+ million of guaranteed money. He is now the highest paid player in the National Football League. Joe Burrow just cashed in big time.
219 million guaranteed.
Yeah, crazy money. But Joe Burrow, you knew he was going to get paid. They got T. Higgins. They got to get paid. 5 years, $275 million with Cincinnati. You know what that means? That means in a few years, if he continues to play this way, and God forbid he wins the Super Bowl with him, he's going to get that thing restructured yet again and get more gauge down the road. But they still have to get T. Higgins and Jamar Chase in. I honestly, with all of his talk and bravado, I thought he might take a little bit less money. But not going to happen. Not going to happen. 5-year, $275 million contract extension. $219 million in guaranteed money, the highest paid player in league history, which we keep saying that about every deal damn near. Now, Chris Jones, wasn't it awkward seeing Chris Jones, the holdout right now from Kansas City, sitting with his agent? They must be feeling like they're going to get a deal done for him to be sitting in the crowd last night down at Arrowhead. You got to think, right?
They said on the broadcast he hadn't talked to a member of the Chiefs front office in over a week, so things had kind of stalled out. And I think he's clearly said he's willing to sit out through week 8,
right? Because
after week 8, he needs to come back to get credit for playing the final year of his contract. But I agree, Bill. I don't want to say that it was a selfish look because he's looking out for his money and trying to get what he deserves. But it was a bizarre look to have him up in the box.
Yep.
It was weird.
He was sitting up in the box last night. I don't know whose box he was in, whether it was his or somebody else's, but sitting up there with the agent nearby and kind of patting him on the knee throughout the game and watching him take a loss. And he's probably saying, hey, Gibbs doesn't run for as many yards if I'm sitting there. So maybe that, spurs the Kansas City Chiefs on to get him back in place, because now can you imagine having, you pretty much have maybe a two loss season for the rest of the way if you're still going to get the number 1 overall seed. I mean, if that's the way you're thinking as a defending champion, then we've got maybe 2 losses now out of the next 16 that we can afford. Otherwise, we're going to end up either as a play-in team, a team that can win the division, but still have to play in that divisional round weekend. Otherwise, they're not going to get the bye. So anyway, 877-867-1670. Meantime, you got the Green Bay Packers. Packers getting ready to take on the Chicago Bears. We're going to hear from Mike Clemens a little bit later on today. We got Tyler Dunn of Go Long TD, who's got an announcement to make on the program today. So we're going to talk to Tyler Dunn coming up a little bit later on the program as well. We've got a lot to get to. Brewers get a little bit of a breather last night as the Cubs take a loss, which means the Brewers gained a half game, now sitting 2 rather than a game and a half up, 2 games up. So they're breathing a little bit. Now it's kind of the stretch run, if you will. And in the meantime, you got the Badgers looking for a little revenge going to Washington. So we got all of that upcoming today. But last night we finally saw football kick off, and it was a nice, relaxing, enjoyable night last night. I did not grill out last night. I was going to. I didn't. Ended up going to the Texas Roadhouse. Had a big margarita, some chicken critters, sat and watched some of the game there, came home, laid in bed, watched the rest of the game last night. Was by the time I got home, I was just like, to hell with it. I'm going to go grab something to eat, come back, and just take it easy. So that's what I did. Feeling
speaking of
yes.
Speaking of margaritas, it took them until the third quarter to play a Jimmy Buffett bumper last night. And I don't want to tell the folks at NBC how to do their job, but if you're playing Smash Mouth in the first quarter, don't bury Jimmy after halftime like that. That was too late.
Yep. I would agree. I like the fact that he got recognized, but I would agree with that. Come on, man. What else do we have for you? The consternation over David Bakhtiari continues, depending on who you talk to. Like yesterday, we talked about it. I was listening to the morning show today, and they get on us for being a little more. It's not up in arms, because I'm not up in arms. I think we're sitting here with a little bit of an eyebrow raised. It's because it's just an oddity. David Bakhtiari does not need to practice. I understand that. You do have to get muscle memory. You absolutely positively have to do. But you would assume that if he was really healthy, he would be there, at least more often than he has been. So again, going back to what Mike Clemens said, that Bakhtiari said the knee would determine what he does. So if the knee is determining what he does, and more often than not, the knee is saying no, then you can raise the eyebrow. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's why I think there's, at least on this program, a little bit of consternation, but we'll wait and see what happens. Big Chunky Bear says, is Joe Burrow and Bosa, don't they have the same agent? I don't know. If somebody out there knows, let me know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I had not looked that deep into it. Rick says, Minnesota's fault for guaranteeing Cousins a few years ago. Well, but Cousins at the time, remember, when you go back to when he came over from Washington, Cousins was playing good football. He just did not want a playoff game. And when he came in, he's provided everything you wanted him to provide short of playoff wins. He's got 1 win under his belt. In his entire career, for all the guaranteed money and all the money that he's made, he's got 1 playoff win. They beat New Orleans down in New Orleans, and that's it. Beyond that, no other playoff wins. And it's not all his fault. I'm the first one to jump on the hey, the Vikings don't have a championship bandwagon. I get it. But it's not all his fault. Last year, the defense gave it up. He didn't play bad. Down the stretch, he missed a couple throws, but beyond that, he didn't play bad. It was the defense that was terrible. So they paid him. He's for the most part, delivered. They just haven't been able to put it all together when they needed to. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Jason says Andy Reid's going to be running helicopter plays and dancing in the Super Bowl while you try to erase them week 1. I don't think so. I don't think so only for the fact, for 2 reasons. One is I still think that they, weaponry wise, they lack a little bit. And secondly, to be perfectly honest with you, it's very difficult to repeat. You just look historically in the NFL, it's very difficult to repeat unless you are an absolute dynasty like we saw with the Steelers and then with the Cowboys, we saw with the Patriots. We've seen that, but it's very difficult to repeat. It just is. It's a different dynamic. It's a different collection of guys. It's a different feel, whatever. I mean, it's very difficult to repeat. That's the reason I would say that, probably most likely the Kansas City Chiefs, while they still may go to ever since Patrick Mahomes took over, they've been in the AFC Championship game. Think about that. The last 5 years, they're the ones. But it's just difficult to repeat as a champion. They may get there. Not saying they won't, but it's very difficult to repeat. Chris says if the Chiefs were smart, they'd go and try to trade for Mike Evans. I just don't know if Tampa Bay's ready to get rid of Mike Evans yet. That's the guy that everybody's talking about. You're right. But I just don't know if Tampa Bay's ready to get rid of Mike Evans just yet. But that's what we were talking. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. You want your voice to be heard? That's the way to do it. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Quick Trip. And at Quick Trip, don't forget to use your Quick Rewards card. Stop there today. Grabbed a couple of Gatorades, just in case. And also grabbed a little gas and one breakfast sandwich, and it was out the door. And the cool thing about it is the breakfast sandwich today was free because I built up some points. Mainly because of all the gas and everything that I've been buying regarding diesel. But that being said, Quick Trip, always something good going on over there. And maybe you walk up and down the aisle and you see something you like and you go, oh, wait a minute. You buy 2 of these, you get 15% or 15 cents off per gallon at the pump. Or you buy this, or you order food in advance and you get this. Oh, they've got all kinds of rewards. So stop in for bread, milk, and eggs and butter, bananas. Or maybe you're like me, and you stopped in last night, you filled up a little bit. Maybe this morning you got a breakfast sandwich. Maybe you got something out of the beer cave, whatever it happens to be. Quick Trip, that's the place to go. Thanks to our friends at Quick Trip.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stay on the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
That's where he's at. And football's a very competitive sport, and some guys rise to that competition and some guys don't. So that's basically all I have to say about that.
Welcome back. That's tell you what that was coming up here momentarily. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Stenny's, second and National Walker's Point. When the Brewers are back, you can catch the shuttle. When the Packers are back, you can catch the shuttle. Brewers back, catch the shuttle. And if you just want to watch a game this coming weekend between the Bears and the Packers, that is a great place to do it. And they are voted, again, one of the best Bloody Marys that are out there. They haven't even entered a contest in 8 years. They came in right away and took second. People got all mad at them again. That's how good their Bloody Marys are. Just award-winning time and again and again and again and again. So that is Stenny's, second and National Walker's Point. The new one coming on Watertown Road in Pewaukee. Hopefully they get that thing open soon. It's been a nightmare of trying to deal with permits and such. But they're working through it, getting it done, and it'll eventually open up, and we'll be there. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Stenny's, second and National Walker's Point, and as they say, you should be here. So let's do this. Let's play that again, and we'll tell you what it was. This is Adam Stenavich talking about Yosh Nijman.
Where does Yosh kind of fit into the puzzle right now?
Yeah, right now he's a backup tackle for us, and that's where he's at. And football's a very competitive sport, and some guys rise to that competition and some guys don't. So that's basically all I have to say about that.
That is damning. Damning. That is about as much of a mic drop moment on your career as you can possibly get. In other words, Yosh had all the opportunities in the world and just never took advantage of it. So while he's there and he's on the team, he's just a backup. That's almost... Remember when Aaron Rodgers was asked about Amari Rodgers and he said, he's a punt returner now, I think, right? That was as damning gets. Stenavich yesterday saying that about Yosh Nijman. That is, oof. That is not good. I don't care who you are. If they said that about the ball boy better be looking for a job. I really thought that Yosh Nijman would come in and just fight and scrap and claw for the right tackle job, and because it's money, man. If he would have earned that, it's money. And nah, baby, nah. Interesting stuff. When you heard that, Grant, what was your thought?
Well, I talked with Mike about this on my show last night. Why is Adam Stenavich so fired up? It's not like some reporter asked him like a boundaries pushing question. Sometimes when a reporter really pushes, the coach will push back a little bit. That's not what happened here. This is a simple Q&A.
Right.
Like, I don't know. That tells me that Stenavich has frustration with Nijman behind the scenes, and he's letting that frustration out in a press conference. It's very bizarre.
Right.
I don't know why that happened.
That is Now I will say sometimes coaches will say things behind closed doors and already to that particular player, or I don't want to say the disdain, but say their frustration, say that they know that player has something in them and they're figuring out a way to light the fire. And they've already talked to him about it, but it just hasn't materialized. So they drop something in the public, and all of a sudden, and nothing overly derogatory and nothing that hasn't been said behind closed doors, but something that's going to publicly kind of light the fire under you. Maybe that's what Stenavich is doing, where they've tried everything. They know they kept him on the team for a reason. They know he's got the ability. We saw him perform at left tackle when Bakhtiari went down. And then all of a sudden it's like he just stopped. He stopped ascending. And maybe the coaches feel like, hey, dude, your ceiling is higher than what you're working towards. And you can't rest on the laurels. You can't rest on the ability that you've already shown. You've got to continue to get better. And maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's dropping that out there. So, so he hears this and we're talking about it and his family hears it and they're saying, hey, what's going on, Yash? Why are they talking to you, talking about you this way? And so he goes down and starts to show something. Maybe he just works a little bit harder in practice. I don't know. But when you hear that, it's like, damn, what did he do behind closed doors? Or maybe what didn't he do behind closed doors to warrant that? So Yash Nyman, I to say he's in the doghouse might be putting it relatively mild.
I'm not trying to create drama or anything. I'm just spitballing, Bill. But do you think there's any frustration with some of these younger offensive linemen like Nijman? They're trying to ascend and get a starting job, and Bakhtiari's been on and off and in and out, and he never practices. And all these young guys are like, so just so we get this clear, we come in Monday to Friday, do the dirty work,
right?
Get the game plan ready and installed, and then we're just supposed to get out of the way on Sunday and let this guy waltz in and play. I can see where there's a little frustration. They're not saying that's what it is. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. If indeed your youth ego. We all have an ego when we're 21 versus when we're 41. And we all have an ego over 21 when we're 31. So it changes because your understanding changes, your knowledge changes. You figure you're an adult when you get to 18, and then you look back on the age of 18 when you're 27 and you go, boy, I didn't know anything. And then you look back on the age of 27 when you're 35 and go, I was still a horse's ass back then. And then when you get to 41 and you look back on 35 and you're like, wow, I still am learning, And so maybe your 21-year-old or 23-year-old ego is saying, I'm better than this guy. I got two good knees. Why aren't they playing me here? Why am maybe you give up a little bit because you feel like you're always going to pound against the ceiling, not realizing that, hey, this guy with the bad knee is going to be gone. Sometimes guys look at it as an opportunity to say, this guy is one of the best. He's been voted to the Pro Bowl numerous times. He is a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro. Got to pay attention to what he does and what he has to say. Or it could have been alienating because he was Aaron Rodgers' handpicked guy and he kind of got the carte blanche because of Rodgers. And we're out here killing ourselves. Like you said, we're out here busting our own ass and we're not getting that recognition. We're not getting it handed to us. But then again, Bakhtiari had to work for it when he was their age. So I don't know. That's a great question. But Yash Nyman right now, the backup right tackle. Think about this. Yash Nyman. Now, don't forget, Yash Nyman, go back to 2019. He didn't get drafted. He was just a college free agent that came in and earned a job. So he's been kind of an underdog. But maybe he's pounding against that door consistently, and he's like, what do I got to do to get in? And then finally he just felt like he wasn't going to get in because of, quote, the draft choices. And maybe he has now taken it upon himself to dog it a little bit. Maybe that's what they're trying to do, is light the fire again. And Zach Tom, who is more right guard than right tackle, but Zach Tom came in and he's a draft choice. He's a 4th-round guy. Sean Ryan's a 3rd-round guy. He's still sitting the bench too, but maybe he just felt like Zach Tom had the job handed to him rather than earning it the way he did. But I don't know. I'm only spitballing here, but I can see that. I can see a little bit of the ego playing into this, but whatever it is, Yash Nyman had the mic dropped on him yesterday in that press conference. Let's do this. We're going to step out. We're going to take a quick break. That's And by the way, there's one or two ways that can go. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at the Four Seasons Island Resort. And the leaves are going to start falling. They already have. I came home yesterday, and there were leaves on the street. There were some leaves in the yard, and it's making me sad. It really is. And mainly because we've been so dry, and I get that. The leaves are going to fall a little bit earlier this year, but still, it just, yeah. Oh. So eventually, it's going to be beautiful up there on the island. You want to take your UTV, your ATV, you want to head up there. You want to enjoy the fall. They do so many different things come the fall. And you can still get outside and enjoy it. Still get outside and play a couple rounds of golf, or inside and hit the pool, hit the sauna, hit the jacuzzi, whatever it happens to be. They have the diamond room for great food. They have the lounge upstairs for the wine and cheese flights, downstairs for the Boundary Water Sports Bar and Grill. So many things at the Four Seasons Island Resort, and it's got all the historic lore from years ago. That's our friends over there at the Four Seasons Island Resort. 715-938-5110. Call Barb. 715-938-5110. Use the promo code Michaels15. Get 15% off your stay. It's that simple.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Buckle up. It's all systems go at Potawatomi. Plug in to high wattage play and you could win an all-electric BMW i7. Play now through September with your club card. Prize drawings on Thursdays. There's a shocking $800,000 in total prizes on the line, including the luxury BMW i7. It's time to electrify your drive. Only at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. More info at paysbig.com/BMW. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Thanks to our friends over there at Veterans America. James Mercado and the gang helping you achieve your dream. Own the land you defend. That's what they say. Own the land that you defend. That is our friends at Veterans America. Give them a call. Give James a call. 262-745-3333. 262-745-3333. And just kind of, ask them how they can help, because they can. 0 down payment, no PMI. The credit requirements aren't nearly as stringent as traditional banks and credit unions. So get a hold of James over there at Veterans America. Own the land you defend. 262-745-3333. 262-745-3333. Coming up in the next hour, we are going to hear from Joe Barry and hear about his thoughts when it comes to his defense and such. Also, we got Rich Bisaccia coming up a little bit later on. We'll hear from Matt LaFleur as well. So we got a whole lot of stuff today. We're going to hear from our buddy Tyler Dunn from golongtd.com. He's going to be joining us about an hour and 20 minutes from now. And then you've also got Mike Clemens, who's going to round out the last hour of the program today also. Jack says, did you figure out the Travis Kelce situation with your fantasy football team? I did. I still got guys. I mean, my entire bench is Jared Goff. I did not play last night. Instead, I've got Aaron Rodgers going on Monday night against the Von Millerless defense of the Buffalo Bills. But I ended up sitting Travis Kelce. And I've got, who did I go with? I'm going to bore the hell out of here. Drake London out of Atlanta, T. Higgins out of Cincinnati, how do you pronounce it? Okonkwo.
Now I'm getting it wrong. Okonkwo. Yeah.
I have him as my tight end from Tennessee, but I've got Mechie and Parker. Mechie in the flex, playing against out of Houston, playing against Baltimore, and then I got Devontae Parker playing in the flex against Philadelphia. But the problem is both of them are questionable for the upcoming game, and that's my bench. That's it. So I'm already kind of screwed. already kind of screwed. So we'll see. But yeah, Travis Kelce to sit him. You talk about the projection of points that he usually gets. It's hurts me in the fantasy league, but we'll figure it out. This is from Kevin, who says, I believe the Chiefs win if Travis Kelce plays. That catch across the middle would have been caught. And he is Patrick's safety net. The Chiefs defense looked okay, but the Lions put the North on notice. Your opinion on Wisconsin and the Cougars game? Are you surprised that this is a national TV, that this is a national televised game on Wisconsin? Go Pack Go. Not surprised. First of all, Luke Fickell comes with a lot of pomp and circumstance. And the Badgers have always been, coming out of the Big Ten, a decent draw. You've got your big three, which has always been Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and then Wisconsin. That's your big draws. And then after that, you could probably say like Iowa has been a bigger draw. Nebraska, certainly with a big fan base. Then you could probably throw in the lower tier of, say, Minnesota at that point. But Wisconsin's always been a good sized draw. But considering it's a Luke Fickell game, it's a revenge game, Wazoo shows out. Man, they turn out in full force for these kind of games when it comes to the atmosphere. So, no, I'm not surprised it's a nationally televised game, to be honest with you. I'm excited. To be honest. 877-867-1670 if you want to hit us up. Jimmy says, hey, Bill, boy, the comments made by Stenavich sure do sound detrimental to Josh Nijman and his development. Do you think that he goes in the opposite direction and goes into the shell? That was what I teased before the break. It goes one of two ways. And this is when you do that, it's kind of like you're searching for something. And I don't want to say it's your last resort, but you're kind of searching for something, you know? You now, unless Stenavich is this brutally honest coach, which we know everybody in Green Bay is pretty much under the guise of Red China, right? Nothing is said without them wanting it out there. So for Stenavich to say that and do kind of the mic drop on Josh Nijman, my assumption is that they've tried a lot of other stuff to motivate, and this might be the way to get motivated. And you're right, it could go one of two ways. It could go where he comes in and goes through walkthrough today. He's busting his ass. He's back in the film study. He knows what's going on. He comes in a little quiet, a little angry, or he comes in quiet and just slowly, personality-wise, just sinks away and just says, look, I'm not even wanted here. Just after the end of the season, I'll be out. I'll move on. Whatever, something like that. But it was certainly, I think you could probably call it, when it comes to the career in Green Bay, kind of a watershed moment. Because I thought he did an admirable job a couple of years ago when Bakhtiari originally went down. I thought he played pretty well, Bakhtiari.
And then didn't they start Dennis Kelly in the playoffs instead of Josh Nijman?
Yeah, they put Kelly there, and Josh. I remember when Bakhtiari tried to come back at the end of last season, and after Josh had done a pretty good job and been in and out, and Josh was okay. He wasn't great, but it seemed like this guy was getting the job done, and they kept trying to figure out somebody better. And maybe they figure you still have a high ceiling because you have the ability, but maybe mentally you're not getting it, or you're not putting that effort into it. Like you feel like you've arrived in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I don't know, but it's certainly a salvo over the bow of you better pull your head out of your rear end or you're not going to have a job. So
this reminds me of when they cut Kylan Hill 2 years ago. I found the quote from Matt LaFleur when they asked about him. He said, regardless of your role, no matter how big or small, we expect guys to come to work and be supportive and own that role to the best of their ability.
Right.
When you don't do that, this is what happens.
Mm-hmm. In other words, you come ready to be a starter. You come ready to be a starter. And if you're not a starter that day, you support the guys that are, and you keep working. Because at some point you're going to get time on the field, and you got to make the most of it. And you can't, I almost use the term lollygag, but you can't just go through the motions in the NFL. Because if you do and you don't succeed, that means the guy behind you can get hurt. And that's your responsibility. So this might be, like I said, the salvo over the bow of Josh Nijman and his career in Green Bay. We'll see. We'll see if it has an effect. Coming up after the top of the hour, like I said, we're going to hear from Joe Barry. I want to hear what Joe Barry has to say. It's like listening to paint dry, but you got to listen. You got to listen. because you got to see if there's going to be any kind of aggressiveness there, what he has to say about his defense, about the thin safety position, defensive backfield, rotation up front, all that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff. Then they're going to get into the, what do you think of the rivalry? What do you think of the Bears? All the cotton candy fluff questions. But you learn a little bit. We got Rich Bisaccia coming up a little bit later on. Darnell Savage Jr. we're going to hear from as well, as he is your starting safety this year, and he's kind of the veteran cat back there after being in the doghouse for quite some time last year. So we're going to hear from him a little bit later on in the program. So we're loaded today. Loaded. Good stuff. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show, which is coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Curly's Waterfront Sports Bar and Grill. Is that where you're going on Sunday? Is that where you're heading? Maybe you're catching the Badger game there. Maybe Brewers game tonight. They've always got something going on. Curly's Waterfront Sports Bar and Grill, Pewaukee Lake. And don't forget, I hate to say it, but come the winter months. Not only is it kind of got that log cabin feel, but they do a lot of charity stuff in the winter as well. So don't think it's just a summertime place, because it's not. Curly's Waterfront Sports Bar and Grill, Lakeview Boulevard, Pewaukee.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
They are still racing down at Great Lakes Dragaway, Union Grove, Wisconsin. And if you're looking for the 2024 season pass, it's on sale. Call them 262-302-5700. 2138 GreatLakesDragaway.com. That's GreatLakesDragaway.com. You can see everything there, all the events they have coming up. And like I said, the 2024 season pass on sale. Go to GreatLakesDragaway.com. 262-302-2138. GreatLakesDragaway.com. Jason said, I personally never thought that Yash looked good at left tackle. I thought he did really well at right tackle. It's not hard to believe that he's struggling with all the additional people that have been brought in. I thought when Bakhtiari went down, he played pretty well. It wasn't like he was great. He wasn't Bakhtiari. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But he filled in admirably. It wasn't like there was constant pressure on Aaron Rodgers, and he did a pretty solid job. And, you talk to other people that rated him, even Pro Football Focus. I mean, he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad, so I maybe he just thought that he kind of had, things more sewn up than he did. But, then again, they take him back to the other side and they put him back over at right tackle. And maybe he thought he was going to make more money at left tackle. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what all plays into that, but to again, have Stenavich basically say, that's all I'm going to say about that. Guys take advantage of the opportunity or they don't. And that's all I'm going to say. It was kind of like, hey, he has not done what we've asked him to do. That's kind of the feeling you get. Thomas says, didn't McCarthy do that with Eddie Lacy in the media? He did, but Mike McCarthy got ripped for Eddie Lacy's comments because everybody assumed Mike McCarthy was fat shaming because Eddie Lacy got fat. Eddie Lacy was getting big. I mean, remember? He was coming down and hanging out at Casablanca in northern Milwaukee over on Brady Street. He was coming down and hanging out at Casablanca. And remember, he always said he ate the China food and he was loading up and he was getting big. I remember hanging with him down in Cincinnati when they had that game down there at Paycor at the time. And he was coming back from injury and he was walking around and it was like, wow, man, you've got yourself put on a few, those nights smoking hookah and eating the China food. It didn't do him well. Before you know it, he kind of ate himself out of the league. I mean, that was kind of it. I think Mike McCarthy basically had it and just said, what do you want us to say? This guy's getting fat. And then people got on Mike, oh, fat shaming. Look at you, coach. Well, the coach isn't being asked to go out there and run over people. That's not his job. His job is a coach. He can get as big as he wants. Okay. But nevertheless, it is what it is. What else do we have here for you? This is, Rick says Hutchinson's going to be a thorn for everybody this season. I agree with that. He looked really good. And that's only, you would assume, much like, say, like a Rashawn Gary, he's only going to get better. He had a good move. He drew the holding penalty early on in that game. And then rather than calling it a fourth and what was it? 4th and short, they took the penalty and then they converted the 4th and 20 something, whatever it happened to be. And it was, and they go on from there. They went on to score, but it was Aiden Hutchinson, man. He was kind of a thorn in the side of Patrick Mahomes last night. This one's from Chris. Chris says, hey, Bill, some funny stuff last night. I was watching the football game, and then I saw the Marlins highlight. Did you see the ball boy? I felt really bad for him. I did see the highlight. And for those who didn't know, the Marlins are playing the Dodgers last night. And the Dodgers, they had I don't know, it was a base hit, which would have gone for a double. It was down the right field line, and the ball boy just didn't see the umpire motion it as fair ball. And so the ball boy ran out and grabbed the ball and then threw it into the crowd. And he's, down the line, he's in the helmet, and you see the left field or the right fielder come over to him like, what are you doing? And he turned around and looked, and you could just tell the guy wanted to cry, and then, here comes the umpire to kind of give him the quote talking to. And it was, you felt bad for the ball boy. I mean, come on. The guy made an honest mistake. He was like all over it, like, I got it. I'm helping you out, man. Don't worry about it. I got it. And all he was trying to do was help. And instead he becomes one of these shameful highlights last night. So, oof. Yeah, I felt bad for him. 877-867-1670. I saw that on, I think it was CBS. Saw it on CBS. What else do we have here for you? This one, Jack says, what do you think that's going to do to some of the prices going up for quarterbacks after you saw your guy Joe Burrow? Well, first of all, Joe Burrow is not my guy. Okay. I lived there for many years, but I've been in this state now going on 25 years, just in case you didn't know. March 5th of this coming year, March 5th, will be 25 years on the air in the state of Wisconsin. It'll be the longest I've ever lived in one place, just so you know. But that being said, with Joe Burrow, of course, Joe Burrow is he's kind of, up the ante, so to speak. He raised the level big time. Big time. You got to figure, you're looking at guys like Justin Herbert. Then if Joe Burrow continues to play extremely well, or say, you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson who wanted all the guaranteed money. He didn't get all that guaranteed money. Joe Burrow got it. But traditionally, Cincinnati's been a very cheap team. And Cincinnati, with this year right now they haven't readjusted things, but right now, they are, $12 million over the cap? Packers, $12 million over the cap. Kansas City, $12 million over the cap. When you start talking about teams needing to go out and get things, right? 877-867-1670. We'll get back into all of that coming up. I do want to hear from Joe Barry. Joe Barry. I went to the podium yesterday. Real quick, Mark says, maybe it's not the same old Lions. They pulled one off last night. Do you call that a huge upset? Not a huge upset, no. Because, let's be honest, Kansas City didn't play great. But I'm not going to knock the Lions win because Kansas City didn't play great. They beat the defending champs in KC. That's a tough feat, man. And you're right, it's not the same old Lions. But I also want to see the Lions grit one out and win a game. With, say, against a team that's, at full strength, so to speak. I want to see that too. But it's a hell of a start for the Lions, man. If you're a Lions fan, you are flying high today. You're still not getting respected because you're of the essence of wait and see, but you're flying high today. And I'm not taking that away from you. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show still yet to go.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, with some good news and some bad news for the Packers on the injury front yesterday. Wide receiver Romeo Doubs returned from his hamstring injury and practiced on a limited basis, while fellow wideout Christian Watson was held out again with his hamstring injury. David Bakhtiari also held out for a veteran rest day. Hasn't practiced now in almost 2 weeks, but Coach Matt LaFleur felt good about his status for Sunday. As for Bakhtiari, he was asked whether he would feel comfortable playing in a real game for the first time since last January without getting any reps in the preseason and missing so much practice time.
I mean, I'll be real. Every year I play, it takes less and less practice to knock the rust off and then be like, all right. Like, I know a bunch of the older guys when we used to play, we used to hit a point where it's like, just give me a couple walkthroughs, make sure I'm fresh. I can go out there and feel good. As long as I can feel my angles out and all that, and like kind of a quick kind of little refresher. So that's kind of how I feel about at this point.
We'll get a clear idea of their status for Sunday's opener against the Bears when the Packers hit the field for practice later today. Final injury report also to come out this afternoon. Turning to the Badgers, they're going to make their way to Idaho later today. That's where they're going to stay prior to making the 40-minute trip over to Pullman to face Washington State tomorrow night. Kick is slated for 6:30.
Are you a non-union construction tradesperson proud of what you do? Did you know you're worth so much more than what you're bringing home today? Put the power of LiUNA union labor to work for you. When you join LiUNA, you get the pay you deserve, plus pension and healthcare benefits above and beyond your compensation. That's zero deductions for pension and healthcare benefits with LiUNA, because you're worth it. Learn more at liunawisconsin.org/join.
Well, the Brewers lead in the NL Central stands at 2 games. That's after the Cubs fell 6-2 to Arizona last night while Milwaukee was off. Crew's going to be back in action tonight as they open a series in New York against the Yankees. First pitch is set for 6:05.
to have you. The Bill Michaels Show on the network, all over. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, at Bill_Michaels or at Wisco Grant. At Bill Michaels, Bill_Michaels or at Wisco Grant. By the way, yes, the Green and Gold postgame show is going to air immediately following the Packers and the Bears this coming Sunday. We are going to be live. We're going to be at the Shy Bar in the Sheraton Grand Riverwalk Hotel down in Chicago. Come on by and say hi. If you still need a room and you're looking for a place to stay, if you're going to the game or maybe you just want to go to Chicago to gloat a little bit, we'll see you there. They do have rooms available. And we're going to be tweeting and such during the game. So follow me over there at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels, at Wisco Grant as well. Instagram, The Bill Michaels Show. The Bill Michaels Show. You can follow on Instagram, Facebook.com as well, The Bill Michaels Show. But you can always watch the show, subscribe to the show, like the show over on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. And find us there. Twitch TV, Kick TV, the Twitch app, and the Kick app. The website simply thebillmichaels.com. And then there's the app itself, which is WOZN, The Zone, ZONE, Madison. The Zone Madison. You can listen to us after the fact on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, and Google Podcasts, wherever your popular podcasts are downloaded. Okay. The brain trust behind the Packers defense. Safeties. Corners, a little bit thin in the secondary. We all understand that, right? So now what we want to do is we want to listen to Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, and we want to hear his thoughts as they get ready to effort towards this upcoming season down in Chicago. Here's what Joe Barry had to say with the media yesterday.
The kid's worked his tail off to get to where he's at. So, you know, he'll be on a pitch count. What that pitch count exactly is, you know, like I said, tune in Sunday, but he's really, I'm trying to remember. I guess it's when we went to Cincinnati. Was that when we took him off PUP that week when we went to Cincinnati? I think that was it. And just looking at him and being like, you know, but now, I mean, the last 2 weeks, he's looked really good. So it's exciting.
Joe, what do you think the domino effect is for the defense? Obviously, you know what he does, but I mean, from an emotional standpoint and intensity standpoint, do you see him kind of rub off on, you know, the guys around him?
Oh, yeah. You know, I've told you guys before that, you know, when we lost him last year, we didn't just lose the player, the dominant, you know, game-changing player. We lost his work ethic. We lost his mindset that he brings every single day. And it's really in every aspect. I mean, if you know, I'm fortunate enough in my position when coaches have individual meetings, I bounce around all the meetings every day, and just the way, just his approach, that he, you know, takes a 30-minute meeting with Coach Rebs is exactly the same way that he takes his approach when he plays on the field. So when you miss that, when you lose that, you not only lose the player, but you lose the leader. You lose that emotional leader, that grit leader that he brings to us every single day. So it's great. It's great to have him back.
What does DJ Moore do for their offense, and what does that do for your preparation for a team that you've faced a bunch, but now that you had a real X-factor kind of guy?
Sure. You know, I think anytime that you add, you know, a playmaker to any offense, it obviously enhances them. And then it's always a challenge, especially in the first game. You know, you know what he was in Carolina. You know him by reputation, but how exactly are they going to use him? It's always, you know, there's always uncharted and unscripted looks that you have to defend in the preseason. So, but really, really good player. And, you know, it's a guy that we're going to have our antennas on all the time, our antennas up all the time, knowing where he's at, because he's a guy that can change the game.
This is obviously a big test for your run defense with Justin Fields. Just what gives you confidence that your run defense as a whole can be better than it was last season?
Sure. Well, it's got to be. You know, it was a huge point of emphasis, obviously all off season, all through the OTAs and training camp. And what a challenge this first game in, defending the best rushing offense in the National Football League last year. And then it's a whole nother dynamic when you talk about what Justin brings to him. Because not only are they a good running team when they simply turn and hand the ball off, he brings a whole nother element. So it's going to be a great challenge for us, no doubt.
Joe, how hard is it we all say, okay, put a spy on Justin Fields, a guy who follows him wherever he goes. How hard is that to do with the schemes you're trying to run defensively?
Sure. I think it's just all 11 people on the field have to be aware of it. You can't just have it be on the 4-man rush. Oh, and we got a spy. When you're playing against a quarterback like Justin, especially whether it's a designed run or it's just simply, it's a pass that goes off schedule and he takes off. It's all 11 people. Not only the people that are responsible for rushing the passer, not only the linebackers, for example, on the second level, but even the people that are in coverage, because what he can do before he crosses the line that, he can attempt to pass down the field. So I'm a firm believer when you play a quarterback like Justin Fields, it's all 11 guys. It's not just on, a handful of people. It's all 11 you have to be aware of them.
That being said, after 2 years, 4 games, do you feel like you'll have a better sense of maybe what makes him tick, when he likes to tuck it and run, or is it just sort of a play-by-play basis?
Sure. I think the only thing I'd answer with that is that it has been 4 games, 2 years, but it's been with 2 different coordinators. It's been in 2 different systems, but I do believe that he's not going to catch anybody by surprise now. I mean, we know what he is. But even with that being said, the guy still had 1,200 yards rushing last year. So he is a massive threat no matter what he does, whether he's dropping back to throw the ball or it's a designed quarterback run. But you got a little bit of an idea of what type of quarterback he is, obviously going into his 3rd year.
For the edge rushers, how do they strike that balance of getting after the quarterback but making sure they're not allowing him to get outside?
Sure. It's something we preach all the time, because you never want to rush with those guys. You never want to rush cautious or scared. You want to go and let them pin their ears back, but you definitely have to be coordinated. You definitely have to be smart, right? You have to rush smart. But we still want to allow those guys to go do what they do and get after the passer. But you definitely have to be very conscious of who the quarterback is, especially a quarterback like Justin Fields.
So sort of more of a big picture question, but just in your time in the league, how have you seen RPO sort of evolve in an offense, and what a defense has to do to answer it?
Sure. Well, it's weird with the specific with the RPO. Especially when you're talking probably maybe the last 5 or 6 years, everything goes in trends. And I think we've talked in here about that before, that it may take a year or 2 for the defense to catch up, and then they find a way, but then the offense comes up with something else. So the RPO is no doubt about it. That obviously was a college trend that kind of made its way into the NFL. And there's all different types. There's the true RPO, but then there's also pass solutions that they have off of a run play. So those are just all things that kind of are normal NFL football that we have to defend. But I definitely think what makes it such a challenge is when you have a quarterback. Everyone runs forms of RPOs, but when you have a quarterback that is as good as an NFL running back doing it, then it brings another element. And that's obviously something they have with their quarterback being Justin Fields.
Have you seen defenses, especially in the front seven, have to get quote unquote faster to answer that?
Yeah, but I think that's football in general. It is such a speed game now. It's such a tempo game now. I think to play really on either side of the ball, but definitely to play defense, the first attribute that you always look for when you're looking at players is you got to be able to run, because it is a speed game. And obviously the faster offenses are, the faster defenses have to be. But I definitely think that's just today's NFL.
Joe, I'm not sure Keyshawn had played as much defense ever in his life as he has these past couple weeks in practice. What have you seen from him in that nickel spot going into this season?
Well, the thing I do love, talking about traits and attributes of players, the one thing, as you guys know, with Keyshawn is that he's very confident, and he's confident in his abilities and what he can do. But I definitely think that it has helped him. We made the decision early on in the offseason that he was going to be our nickel. So it's not one of those things that we kind of fell into it, or he was the second team guy that won the job. Really, from our first OTA day back in May, Keyshawn's been our starting nickel, and he's gotten the exclusive work the last 6 months with our starting group. So it's been huge.
Joe, I know your players don't want to be giving away your game plan, but there's pretty.
Should I just say, show up Sunday? Should I answer it that way?
Just make sure that you're with me on this. So we've got Jair Alexander telling us, hey, I'm going to travel with number one receivers more. We've got Rasul saying, hey, we're going to be more aggressive. We're going to be up on the line of scrimmage. We're going to play more, press man. Kenny Clark is talking to us about being more aggressive up front. He's not being specific because he doesn't want to give us too much information because he's a savvy veteran like that. Is your defense going to look a lot different than what we're accustomed? I'm not asking for what you're going to do on Sunday, but overall this season, have you made some?
Do you want me to give you the whole game plan right now? Or
no, I just want part of it. No, I'm serious. Have you had a change in philosophy? Because your guys are talking like you have. And it sounds to me like maybe your willingness to listen to them has led to some tweaks, and we're not just going to run that style that I came in with.
Sure.
We'll do some different things. I just want to understand what kind of your philosophy or your process is.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give you any game plan secrets here, but I will answer it in this way, kind of similar to what I was saying earlier. I think football is always evolving, and definitely offensive football is. And I think you have to, every single year, I don't know if you go as extreme of saying that you change your philosophy, right? I think most people have a philosophy, and they're usually, pretty strict to that. But I will say you definitely have to evolve, or, I think change is probably too extreme, but you definitely have to evolve, and you definitely have to look at what you're doing. And sometimes maybe what you said, maybe a better word than change is tweak what you're doing. I think you have to do that every single year, or, offenses are just too good now, and they change and they evolve, and they sign players, and they, do different schemes. I think defensively, you definitely have to keep up with that. I'm a firm believer. I think my philosophy is what it is. There's going to be tweaks, and there's going to be subtleties that you change and do things different every single year.
Does it help you to be more malleable, or whatever it might be? Because,
I don't know what that word means.
Flexible.
Oh, there you go. Malleable. Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I love it. It's great.
So you're in Tampa, right?
Yeah.
Rod and Monty Kiffin, and you guys run the Tampa 2, and it's great for a while, and then teams start to catch up to it, right?
Sure.
Then you have the Vic Fangio defense, which you learned, and that was kind of what was going to be your calling card when you got here. So when you've coached in different systems and done things differently, does that allow you to be more flexible
malleable
now?
Yeah.
When you're in this position.
I think that is. I think the great thing about, I know with my career, is that I've been able, you've mentioned a few of the guys, I've been fortunate to be around Monty Kiffin, and I worked with Rod Marinelli and Mike Tomlin. And, then I went on and I worked with Wade Phillips for 3 years. And, I think you're able to, but then also I was with Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur and guys like that. So I learned, you pick up knowledge as you're always going. And I think even though you have a system, you have a philosophy, you have a belief, but I think everyone always puts their own stamp on whatever they do. It's like what's transpired with the West Coast offense all these years. It started with Coach Walsh and Coach Holmgren and John Gruden and Mike Shanahan, but everyone over the years has put their own stamp on it, even though they're a West Coast guy. So, but I still believe, back to what I originally said, you have to evolve. You have to, because it's ever changing. It never stays the same. And I think if you stay the same, you get passed by. So I think every single the 2023 Green Bay Packers is going to be completely different than the 2022 Green Bay Packers. There's no doubt.
Can I ask you about Devontae Wyatt?
Sure.
I thought I saw some reps from him this summer I had not seen before, where he won them and it looked to me like he was throwing his hands.
Yeah.
And when I talked to him about it, he said, "Yeah, there's some things that Jerry has worked with me."
Yeah.
And I said, "So where was that before?" He says, I needed the confidence it was going to work.
Sure.
Like, the coach gives you the toolbox, but he still, is that an accurate depiction? You probably see that every year.
Yeah. I mean, we have great conversations all the time. And I tell you guys, every single rookie is different. Some guys come in and they make that transition from the college game to the NFL game. Sometimes it's seamless and it's easy. Other guys, it takes a little bit. And, I would think if DY was standing right next to me, he'd say he didn't have the rookie year that he expected or any of us expected. And the thing that I appreciate is that he kept working. He kept grinding. He just was a sponge with Jerry Montgomery, was a sponge with Kenny Clark and those guys. And does he still have a ton of improvement? And I still think he'll get even better. There's no doubt about it. But the thing that I always appreciate when a rookie, especially a high drafted, rookie that had high expectations, when he has a tough year, I always look at that year two and the improvement that he's made from year one to year two. And it's been neat to see where, because he has gotten better. Does it still need to get better? Is there still things that he needs to improve on? No doubt about it. But he's made a nice jump from year one to year two, with it being the off season still, with it being the preseason. Now let's go do it when it counts. See you guys.
There you
Always
go.
good seeing you.
They're always great. That is Joe Barry, defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, and some interesting stuff there. I don't know what you took away from that, but there was a handful of things that I kind of noted, all of which seem to be headed towards the same direction. Do you know what they are? We'll talk about it when we come back. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, made sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back, and our friends at the Social House, Dan Della and the staff, they want to let you know, yeah, the weather's turning a little bit, so you know what they brought back? They brought back the chili. Chili is back at the Social House, Haus, in Menominee Falls, Lisbon Road. Good stuff. And they, by the way, they have a whole bunch of stuff coming up for the Packers game. They got a bags tournament coming up this weekend. They've got a cribbage tournament coming up in October. They got all kinds of different things happening. They got a chili contest in December and all kinds of different things that they do. So they've got the bags tournament coming up this weekend beginning at noon. And then at 3:25, you got the Packers and the Bears on the TVs out there. So if you are a bags player, that's Social House, Haus on Lisbon Road in Menominee Falls. The thing that I took away from the Joe Barry discussion was two things. And I thought Mike Clements brought this up and was succinct in talking about it. And some of the things that the coaches had done with the players. Some of the, as he said, the coaches have put things in their toolboxes, but they didn't have confidence in it at the time. But the next statement was about the aggressiveness. It was a question about Jair. It was a question from Darnell Savage. It was a question from Kenny Clark. It was all these different things regarding being aggressive. Now, I hope we see it. You can talk about it all you want. Until it actually happens, it doesn't mean anything. I hope we see it because last year we saw this team on numerous occasions die death by 1,000 cuts. I understand you want to keep things in front of you. You never want to get burned. You don't want to go over the top, all that kind of stuff. But if Joe Barry decides that this team has that capability to play aggressive, it will be impressive. I kind of believe that. I think they have now. Whether or not they stay healthy long enough to be able to do this, we'll wait and see, because injuries are a part of the game. But if they can play aggressive, I think they have enough talent as starters to play aggressive. Rasul Douglas has talked about that as well. Another guy where last year we saw a lot of soft zone coverage. This year, they want to play aggressive. They want to get after it more. They're going to do a little more zone, or a little less zone, a little more man, all of that. So I'm really anxious to see if what has been talked about actually translates to action on the field. If anything, I walked away from that specific press conference a little more excited than what we've heard in the past from Joe Barry. I just did. Because Joe Barry doesn't talk about being aggressive. He doesn't talk about I don't know how to put it. He doesn't talk about getting after it and such. He just talks about keeping things in front of you, knowing your assignment, on and on and on. This was a different sounding, even though it's very monotone. And I know you got to cut through all of that. You got to, it's sometimes you got to slice away all the fat and all the boringness. And then you get to the meat, and the meat was out of that conversation. You heard the term aggressive. I started counting. It was like 8 times, 8 times. And then I just quit counting because I'm thinking, okay, there's a theme here. So I was excited. I know it doesn't mean much because they haven't taken a snap in the regular season yet. But Grant, I got to ask you, when you hear Joe Barry start to talk about being more aggressive, doesn't that kind of make your ears perk up? Because that wasn't in his vocabulary for a long time.
Yeah, when I listen to Joe Barry speak, I just think about how that man could sell water to a well. Like he talks and talks and talks. And I get it. I work in radio, like IBS for a living. So I see it and I tip my cap. Joe Barry's a very good talker. I like hearing about aggressiveness. And they were having a back and forth exchange, the beat reporters and Joe Barry, about malleability, right? Being able to move guys around and have different looks. That's all great. Like I've never doubted Joe Barry's ability to say the right things and to have the right ideas. It's putting them into action on the field that's proven to be a little bit of an issue, especially early on in the season, right? You know what, Bill, I'll give Joe Barry credit. His defense has played their best ball at the right time the last 2 years. They've turned it on in the second half of the year and look like their best version. I would just enjoy if they did that a little earlier. Like, let's not take 8 weeks to make adjustments.
Yeah, remember, it wasn't the defense that cost him against San Francisco a couple of years ago. Defense played really well. It was the offense and it was the special teams. And last year at the end of the season, the defense played really well. It was the offense and their inability to move the football and going into a shell and facing adversity. And then obviously they had not as many, but they had a couple of special teams issues. But for the most part, it was the offense. Last year, it was the defense that actually played pretty well down the stretch. So good stuff. When we come back, Tyler Dunn of golongtd.com. They're dropping a podcast. You're going to want to hear it. We're going to talk to Tyler Dunn when we come back. Stay tuned. Stick around. We got a whole lot more to get to. This portion of the program brought to you by our buddy Craig Every and the gang at Every Plumbing and Heating in La Crosse and Trempealeau, Jackson counties, Vernon, to give you a few. But founded back in 1969 by the Korean War veteran Clayton Every. They are big supporters of the motorcycle ride, but more so they are doing stuff now in plumbing and heating and air conditioning during those hot days. But if you're thinking about maybe a reconstruct, an addition, some new home building, if you want to run some, heat through the floor, they can do that. If you want to put heat in your garage, they can do that. There's so many things, and they're hiring. So call them 608-783-2803. That is Craig Every and the gang at Every Plumbing and Heating out there in La Crosse. They're based right there in Onalaska, but they serve that whole area out there. So get a hold of them, man. And now's the time to do it because you don't want to wait until it gets really cold. And all of a sudden at night, you're going, I should probably get the furnace serviced or the boiler serviced. And maybe we want to do that. Nah, do it now. Call them now. 608-783-2803. You're going to want to hear what Tyler Dunn has coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Big doings going on down in Northern Lights event venue this weekend. They're going to open it up right there on the Milwaukee River Walk. Going to open it up for the Packers game. Packers-Bears. They're going to open up, have a little music outside. Little potluck going on over there, so not a bad way to go. If you want to go watch the boats go by and hopefully the Packers knock off the Bears, that's northernlightseventvenue.com. And if you're looking for a great place to host a holiday party, a meeting, or an event, dinners, weddings, photo shoots, you name it, go to northernlightseventvenue.com. That's northernlightseventvenue.com. Again, northernlightseventvenue.com. Bring him in now, and our guy from golongtd.com, Tyler Dunn, joining us on the hotline. Tyler, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing fantastic, brother. How you been, Bill? Good to hear your voice, man.
We're good. Obviously it's a new era, and there's a lot of unknown and uncertainty. There's a lot of hype. I don't know which direction to take it. I'm still sitting steadfast between 7 to 8 wins for the Packers, but nevertheless, a big game between them and the Bears is coming Sunday. What are you guys working on?
I tell you, there's a lot going on here, I guess, at Go Long, if that's what you're asking. We'll be covering the Packers a ton all season long. Like you said, exciting times, right? I mean, this is a transformative season for the franchise. And in that vein, we'll be bringing back Bob McGinn. I'm sure a lot of listeners, readers, viewers, everybody out there has followed Bob since 1979. He started covering the team. So we're bringing back our weekly podcast, talking about the Packers and the NFL at large. And obviously we'll have feature stories, columns on the Packers at Go Long. And then just introduce today the 3-time MVP, Pro Football Hall of Famer, a man who elicits a little bit of emotions across the spectrum, right? Brett Favre. I'm going to be bringing him on throughout the season to kind of look back at some old war stories from his days, talk about the Packers of today, but do a lot of like big picture issue topics, right? Like concussions, painkillers, the direction of the game. I really want to dig into some meaty subjects because, look, you can't tell the story of the NFL without Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm.
There's good, there's bad, there's ugly, right? I mean, hey, everybody is flawed. And we can get into whatever you want, but I think he's in a place where he's as open as he'd ever be on all of the above. So we had our first episode, and it was incredible.
So when you talk to Brad, obviously there's, like you said, the good, the bad, the ugly. The good is the career, the tenacity with which he played. The bad is not only some of the things that he went through as a player, but obviously since he has retired and some of the things that have gone on down in Mississippi. The ugly is some of the things that have been stated about him, some of the lawsuits that have been brought and, obviously since dropped and been decided. But then there's the game itself and the concussions and the painkillers and all that kind of thing. When you sit down and talk with him, what intrigues you most?
Yeah, I think it's the transparency. It's how open he is. It's rare out of anybody in the NFL, but especially quarterbacks and especially individuals and characters who have really defined the game. I mean, he has defined the sport itself. My opinion, the greatest Green Bay Packer of all time. Who knows where the franchise is without him? So it goes without saying what he's done on the field and all of that. But yeah, I think it is the fact that he is open. And just in terms of the Mississippi case, there is a gag order. So there's only so much he can say. But if people want to check out the episode, I do ask him about it pretty early on. And he does that. He actually answered it with a little more detail than I was expecting. So when the time is right, I'm sure Brett is going to have a lot more to say on that subject because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, his reputation in the minds of a lot of people is kind of focused and centered around that. And he doesn't hide from it. He doesn't run from it. And we won't on this show. I think as he's able to, we can touch on those subjects. But to me, I mean, if you're going to talk to a former player, Hall of Famer, anybody for a show, I mean, it's not all going to be flowery. I mean, he's transparent through that lens of let's get into anything that anybody wants to discuss, which is why our VIP subscribers, if you go with that option, you can hang out with us. You can come on the show and ask Brett anything you want.
I want to ask you when you start to talk to Brett more on the football side of things, Analytically, I remember a story Brian Noble told me that he used to beg Brett to get into the film room, and Brett never would because Brett just did it on natural talent. It wasn't until the end of his career that he actually started studying. Analytically, how good is Brett when it comes to the game of football?
It's funny because we were talking about Jordan Love and how ready Brett thinks he is, and he's like, man, he's got to be far light years more ready than I ever was because of quarterbacks. I mean, they're kind of created in these labs as kids, right? I mean, every year, every step of the way, they're ready for this all. But I think we get into quarterback play and the X's and O's a little bit. But what I found so fascinating was kind of connecting the past to the present. We went through the entire summer of 2008, from the crushing loss to the Giants to retiring when he didn't really want to retire, to coming back to that press conference. As I told Brett, it's not like you were held against your will. Like, what sent you there, to getting on the plane back when he started having doubts immediately? Like, what the hell did I just do? To James Campen visited him. He shared so many stories, play by play, blow for blow through that transition that I had never heard in my time, covering the Packers and being around the situation. Even in the 90s, I don't know if you know this, Bill. I mean, him and Ted, they were drinking buddies. I mean, they'd go to the 50-yard line across the street, throw back beers. They were tight. And then here's Ted a decade later saying, thanks, but no thanks, Brett. We're going with Aaron.
Yeah, I was going to say they were until they weren't. And I remember that. I remember when the weren't happened. But I agree. It was they were buds for a long period of time, man.
Exactly. And he's so grateful to really have the opportunity to make amends with Ted. I mean, it was bad, obviously. And he's really open and how he felt when he goes to the facility and the code to get into the building doesn't work. Right. And then he's told, you can come up, but you can't talk to anybody. And it was rooted in the bad blood with Ted. But then when he's with the Vikings and he beats Green Bay twice, who texted Brett Favre right away? Ted. Congratulated him. And that kind of thawed things. And that point forward, they really were able to, rebuild a relationship. And he's obviously so thankful that they were able to get to a good place because, unfortunately, we've lost Ted. God rest his soul. But, that evolution of their relationship I found to be so fascinating.
So, okay, I want to ask you, when it comes to Brett Favre real quick, and then we can move on to a little bit of football, but when it comes to Brett Favre and being able to do this podcast, is this like a book where you go chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and you continue to move forward? Or is this just kind of like, let's sit down, we'll pick a topic today and we'll BS about it? Or is this just like Brett used to do with his press conferences that you're so aware of, Tyler, where you'd ask him a question and then the next 5 questions were asked by himself because that's the direction he wanted the conversation to go?
You just nailed it. Yeah, I think I'm going to go into these conversations with Brett Favre with, we're gonna have a theme, an issue, a main topic to kind of stay on. But I don't want to go into this thing with a clipboard full of questions and turn it into some sort of interview. I mean, that's not how I really conduct myself in any interview. Right. I want to have conversations with players and former players. I want it to be organic and natural and see where it goes, with a subtle tendency to try to get Brett back on track, right? Let's jump in there and kind of get back on the rails when we have to, but at the same time, soak in all of these stories that Brett has to share.
Now I want to get into football. Last night, obviously a big win for Detroit, an opening loss and a little bit of a disappointment for the Kansas City Chiefs. But this Lions team, was this because it wasn't a great game played by the Chiefs. We all know that. But was this a Lions team that can now kind of kick in the door a little bit and put the rest of the world on notice that, hey, we believe we're pretty good? They've won. I think they've won 9 of their last 11 or, 10 of their last 11 or something like that. Some kind of crazy number when you talk about the win last night again. They've been playing winning football under Dan Campbell.
This is really 3 years in the makings. I mean, they've spent a solid 3 off seasons, free agencies, the draft, veteran free agency in the middle of the season, waiver pickups. I mean, they look for such a specific type of DNA in their players. It was really interesting to spend a week out there and talk to all these players and coaches and see how they've kind of built this roster because, right, they were so hyped up, but the hype wasn't rooted in trading for Aaron Rodgers or trading for Tyreek Hill or some free agent acquisition. It's the hype is real and substantive because 1 through 53, they built a team in the image of Dan Campbell. And I think you saw that. I get it. No Travis Kelce, no Chris Jones. It's a different game if they're out there, but we just have to study what was. And you saw a mentally tough team that faced adversity, overcame it. And that's exactly what they did last year. At one point, Dan Campbell was 4-19-1. I mean, I don't care how great your press conferences are and how thick the brick wall is the players want to run through it through your speeches. You're going to get fired at that rate.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, they've completely turned it on. I think it really is emblematic of the type of player that they add. And, if you get to the nitty gritty, they'll probably need a Jamison Williams to turn the lights on and have a downfield threat. They're not a perfect team, but it's not a perfect conference. So I really wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season, they are the best team in the NFC just because they're wired the right way.
In New York, obviously, there's a ton of hype for Rodgers. Who needs that game more? Is it going to be Josh Allen trying to come out and make a statement, or is it Rodgers and all the hype that they have now around that New York Jets team? That, man, they've got a gauntlet to run early on, and if they come out and lay the first egg, boy, I tell you what, all of a sudden people are going to start scratching their heads a little bit saying, well, we'll wait till next week. But if they lay another egg the following week after that, I think Jets fans are going to quickly start wondering, what the hell did we just do?
I know. I don't know. My gut feeling, Bill, is that the Jets win the game just on adrenaline and being in prime time and Aaron Rodgers' first start, all of that. And then the air comes out of the hot air balloon at some point and they just crash in fantastical fashion. We're all going to overhype the outcome one way or another. But I do think that more pressure is on the Jets just because of the market. It's wild to just see how that fan base has completely bought in. And right. I don't have to tell your listeners, they saw Aaron last year, right? It wasn't the same Aaron. He wasn't seeing the field. He wasn't able to move like he used to be able to move. He's, going on national radio and ripping teammates for not being in the right spot. We've seen this play out before. Garrett Wilson is a talent. It's not a Devontae Adams who you've worked with for a decade and you can just audible to any play at any moment. So in this AFC and in that division, especially if Tua stays healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if they finished third or even fourth.
Before I let you go, big one coming up, obviously, between the Packers and the Bears, and a lot of talk about Justin Fields. And, I mean, even in Chicago, they talking about him taking the next step. Could he win an MVP? In the meantime, Jordan Love's just trying to get his feet wet. But, Rodgers and Favre both own the Bears. I mean, there was no doubt about it. They won a lot of ball games. How much pressure is on Jordan Love to kind of come in and, I don't want to say fill in those shoes, but at least pick up where they left off? But on the other hand, Bears fans feel like this is now their time to shine. If the Bears lose this game, then I'm sure the Bears fans are going to be going, what the hell do we have to do to finally beat the Green Bay Packers?
I'm kind of there. The latter. I think there's going to be more pressure on the Bears to win this game because Justin Fields has played. We've seen Justin Fields. They built the offense around him. They got him at DJ Moore. They signed Tremaine Edmonds to in my opinion, insane contract. He's good. I don't know if he's that good. But they have gone all in. And yet, I think the tea leaves suggest this team's still going to finish last in the NFC North. I just don't see it. Justin Fields was fun as hell for 3-4 weeks. But does he have a game that is sustainable over a full season?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go one way or another on him after this year. Whereas Jordan Love, I mean, yes, there's pressure on him. You're stepping in the shadow of a Hall of Famer who replaced a Hall of Famer, all of that. But we barely see him. And, with all that dead money, Brian Gutekunst couldn't go out and spend on a veteran receiver. So all these receivers are 22, 23. I get the sense that fans, I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust, playoffs or bust. They just want to see some promise and some hope in Jordan Love for the future. So to me, that's not pressure. That's just going out and playing. And I think he's going to be spectacular. And through that lens, I think that Jordan Love has been built for this moment, and he's gonna do really well. And hey, I think they'll make the playoffs. But even if they don't, I think that this offense is going to show enough into 2024 that they can take that next step and really contend.
Tyler, always great to talk to you. They can find your stuff at golongtd.com, right?
You got it, man. Yep, golongtd.com and the Brett Favre show. They were just calling it Favre, all caps, It's available to all our paid subscribers. And if you want to go VIP, you can hang out right in there with us.
There you go. Good stuff as always, Bub. We'll talk to you throughout the season, okay?
Hey, anytime, man. Thanks so much for having me, Bill.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Tyler Dunn, Ty Dunn, over there on Twitter, if you want to find his stuff there. That's at Ty Dunn. And always good to talk with him. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break, come back. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, made sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show continuing on. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. The final hour of the program, we are going to really dive deep, get into it. Mike Clemens going to join us. We'll talk with him about what's going on up in Green Bay coming up after the top of the hour. Going to hear from Matt LaFleur and some of his thoughts coming out of yesterday. I want to get into that as well. And also, we have not really talked too much about the Badgers, but the Badgers trying to take on, will be taking on Washington State this weekend. I want to talk about the importance of that contest as well. So that's all coming up. So stay tuned for that. Brewers back at it again this evening, and the Brewers get a little bit of a break last night as the Cubs took a loss, which was nice. Cubs lose last night to the Diamondbacks, and that means the Brewers gained a half game. They are 2 games up on the Cubs in the standings. So good news there as the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cubs back at it again today. It is a 120 per first pitch down there at Wrigley. In the meantime, the Brewers, they're in the Bronx taking on the Yankees. Ray against Severino coming up tonight. 6:05 start time there. So we got some Brewers action, Packers action, Badgers action. It is a plethora of stuff. And I love it. Love this time of year. Awesome stuff. Going to go ahead and take a quick break, come back. Matt LaFleur coming up next. Stay tuned. We got more right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the wait is almost over. Sunday at 3:25, the Green Bay Packers are down in Chicago to take on the Bears, and the Jordan Love era begins. Love talks on his mindset heading into week 1.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely always nerves going into any game, especially the first game of the season. So I'm sure there'll be those, and it's just getting out there and getting your feet wet and being able to relax and, stay calm.
Some good news for the Packers. After wide receiver Romeo Doubs did not participate in practice on Wednesday, he was a limited participant yesterday and is on track to play on Sunday. To the college ranks, the Wisconsin Badgers are in Pullman on Saturday to take on the Washington State Cougars. Head coach Luke Fickell talks on what they must do on the road at Martin Stadium.
Specific things, offense and defense, that you have to do to be successful on the road is critical. And, I'm not telling you something that any other coach wouldn't tell you, but, you can't go on the road and turn the ball over. You can't go on the road and not be able to run the football. You can't go on the road and, have incredible amount of penalties. Those are things that are really difficult when you're in an environment that's not your own to overcome.
Kickoff on ABC is tomorrow at 6:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual is the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin for a good reason. As a company founded by farmers, they understand the ag industry and its challenges. Local agents offer farm families the best advice and personalized coverage. Visit ruralmutual.com to find an agent near you.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
The Milwaukee Brewers had last night off. They currently sit just 2 games above the Cubs for first place in the NL Central and are in New York tonight. They'll be taking on the Yankees first pitch. That's at 6:05. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show on the air. Hour number 3. Starting hour number 3. Good to have you. And today, looking at the Packers and the Bears preview, talking about the game that was last night. Kansas City gets knocked off 21-20 by the Detroit Lions. Detroit now up 1-0 in the division. and had a pick six from Patrick Mahomes to help them along the way. Jahmyr Gibbs looked really good last night. The Lions made a little bit of a statement. Defensively, they kind of hung in there, and the intestinal fortitude got them through. So now the Packers, they have to take their place in the division, and hopefully they get a win on Sunday. Don't forget, though, doesn't matter what happens. We'll be talking about it after the fact. We want you to be along for the ride. You got to download the app because there's some stations on this network, believe it or not. Believe it or not, some people take other programming, mainly Packers programming, or maybe they have their own, but that's okay. You know why? Because you and I, we're still going to be talking, okay? Whether you follow us on YouTube, which YouTube gets huge after the Packers game. It's always fun. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. Like us, and we'll set the event, and we'll let you know, hey, coming up 6:00, boom, on the air we go. Or maybe listen to us on the Zone app, WOZN, the Zone Madison. You can find us there as well. And we're going to be talking about the Packers and the Bears right out of the chute. Looking forward to it. And that's also where you're going to find a lot of the huddle stuff this year, both over the air and on social media. And we got a lot of good stuff in store this year. We're going to be talking. We're heading out on the road. We're going to be heading on the road this year, and we're all over the state. We're going to pick about 10 different places, 8 to 10 different places to go. And we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a good time this year. Really looking forward to it. So anyway, download the app. Go over to YouTube, follow us there, like us, and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Because that way, when we go on the air, it pops up on whatever device you're using. So we're looking forward to that. In the meantime, Matt LaFleur talking to the media yesterday because there's some questions, some things happening. We need to know what's going on. Matt LaFleur talking to the media. Take a listen.
David and Christian did not practice. Romeo and Rashawn were limited, and then Anthony Johnson and Wicks were full participants in practice.
What did Romeo do today, and how did he look today?
He looked good. He took a couple reps within each team period and all the routes on air, and looked good.
So what do you need to is like tomorrow like the big day, just how he feels?
Every day is a big day.
That's true. That's true for all of us. But I mean, as far as how he wakes up feeling and all that, is
Yeah.
kind of like the big barometer there?
Yeah, we're not going to put him in a position to, miss a longer period of time. So if he's feeling good, he'll be out there. And if he's not, then he won't.
Was Christian down there at all, or was he somewhere else getting treatment? Or?
Yeah, he came later to practice. Yes.
With it's kind of the cliche thing about having a quarterback kind of get him into a rhythm. What goes? Is it just a matter of giving him some easy passes, or what goes into getting a quarterback going?
I think any time that you can string together a few completions, that typically builds the confidence up a little bit. So how you do it, there's a lot of different ways. It could be taking a shot down the field. It could be throwing a screen. So, but yeah, I think that's important to try to do, to get them in the flow of the game. And I think typically you do that just by getting more plays. So even if it's running the football and you get some first downs, but you gotta string together a few plays to help really everybody get into a rhythm.
Now, Bucky, you have practiced since August 30th. You're 2 days into your practice week here, and he hasn't been on the field. How can he play on Sunday? Is there any way? And is there something going on there that's going to be, questioning his season?
Not to my knowledge. I think that he's a guy that's banked a ton of reps. He feels good physically, and so we anticipate him being out there on Sunday.
Why not practice him at least once?
Maybe we will. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow.
How do you feel about Aaron Jones' connection as a receiver with Jordan Love that you showed you this summer?
I feel good about it. I think they've spent a lot of time together and developed a rapport out there, and looking to see how it goes in the game.
They got a bunch of new guys on defense. They basically bought a defense. When you're doing your prep, is that a challenge at all, or can you realistically look what they did last year and kind of extrapolate that to this year?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a little bit of a challenge in that, just seeing how they fit within their scheme. But they've added some really talented pieces. Obviously, the two backers, and then kind of revamp that defensive line. So I think that it's on paper it looks pretty good. That they're just their starting group, their starting unit. And I thought last year, quite frankly, I know what numbers say, but when I watch the tape, like it's a sound defense, and they play extremely hard, and they do a really good job of attacking the football. And if you go back a year ago, when they didn't have as talented of a group that they have now, they were in damn near every game. I mean, they were beating us in the fourth quarter. They were beating, I want to say Philly and Buffalo at halftime. I mean, so they played some really good defense last year.
You mentioned the two backers. Obviously, you have two backers as well that are really good. Is it play call? What's a challenge that you're facing when you go up against two guys that can cover a lot of ground, like whether it's their guys or your guys? Yeah, I just think that they're that they're gonna be in the right spots within whatever the call may be, and I think that's just kind of the chess match of football. Is you're trying to get certain plays dialed up against certain calls, and then go out there and try to execute.
When will team captains be announced?
That's a process that I haven't informed our team about yet. So when we do that, I'll let you guys know.
Are you going to plan on having season captains, or are you going to change?
I'll let you guys know.
That's good.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. There you go. We'll let you know. We're going to let you know. We'll let you know. Don't worry about it. We'll let you know. Not a lot there to chew on other than the fact that they didn't practice yesterday. When you talk about Christian Watson and David Bakhtiari, and we're going to find out if they practice today, and they should be hitting the practice field any moment now, but we'll find out here shortly. Other than that, not a whole lot to kind of grip onto with Matt LaFleur. You got more out of the Joe Barry presser, the fact that they're talking about more and more aggressiveness when it comes to the defense. Offensively speaking, it's a lot about rapport. It's a lot about, as Mike Clemens alluded to, you're going to be looking for, not only if you don't have Christian Watson, you're going to have Romeo Doubs, Samari Torrey, and a bunch of young guys, but the guy that's coming out of the backfield, it's probably one of your better pass catchers, is going to be Aaron Jones, who's got the rapport already and has said pretty much from the very beginning that, hey, when Jordan Love gets his opportunity, we got his back. So a lot of good stuff there in regards to the rapport between Jordan Love and Aaron Jones. Other than that, a lot of coach speak. Nothing there that's too hyped or too over the top. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hopefully, Dobbs was back in the practice field yesterday. We're waiting to see if Christian Watson gets back out there. From what I understand, I don't think he is practicing today, but I have not. Grant, have you seen if Christian Watson hasn't been on the practice field at all today?
Watson did some light jogging and stretching kind of in the beginning period, and then he did not go with the rest of the team to practice. So he's not practicing. No.
I was kind of going through a little bit of this, and I was seeing some of the reports coming out of camp. Not a great day for Jordan Love when it came to some of the passing game and some of the things that they were doing at practice today. But we'll wait and see.
He also had sneakers on instead of cleats, if that means anything to you. It must have meant something to Matt Schneidman because he tweeted it out. So I feel like I should pass that along.
David Bakhtiari, did he practice today? I think he did, didn't he?
No practice reps since August 30th. He didn't even come out and stretch based on what I'm reading. Yeah, Ryan Wood tweeted that. So he's going to go 2 weeks without a rep before playing Sunday.
Wow. I'm trying to flip through some of this stuff because it comes by. Here's the thing: when you're on the air and you're trying to watch this stuff, you can't keep up with it on Twitter. So I'm trying to kind of go to some of the guys that we pay attention to, and I've not been able to kind of keep up with it. But Watson did a light stretch, jogged through. Bakhtiari present, not practicing. Looks like he's going to play without any full reps for 2 weeks now. Romeo Doubs was a go today with the hamstring issue. Yeah, when you got Watson and Doubs with hamstrings, I will say this. If Romeo Doubs is playing and practicing, even though he has had the hamstring issue, they must feel really confident that he's not going to, further injure that thing for the status it is right now. Because normally when it comes to hamstrings, they are extremely cautious because we saw this. Go back to Clay Matthews. I mean, that used to be the thing with him. Every year he'd go down with a hamstring issue, and they always made him wait a week or two later than what was the projection, just to make sure he was good to go when he would come back. So if Romeo Doubs is back, it must have been a really light, kind of crampy feel in the hamstring, and he pretty much should be good to go. But yeah, the Christian Watson thing, man, if you got Romeo Doubs, Samori Toure, that's not terrible. But, man, you got a lot of youth already in experience. It's going to be fascinating to watch how they use everybody, how Matt LaFleur uses everybody, and what he does in motion and movement to help Jordan Love, and how I think we're going to see a lot of in this first game what we saw in the preseason. They'll take a couple of shots, but for the most part, you move him in the pocket. You cut down half of the field. You make that decision-making both on his part and on the wide receiver's part less and less emphatic, where you don't have to know every single route tree and have to have everything down perfectly. This is just, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to roll half the field. We're going to make sure that this particular zone is open. If we see this defense, this is what we're going to do. You got an either or. I think they'll just keep him safe. They'll get him into rhythm. You heard Bill Huber ask about that. How do you get a quarterback into rhythm? That's how. You get him you hit him a couple of passes. He hits a couple. You get a little confidence, a couple of short, quick throws, maybe an intermediate throw before you actually take the shot downfield. Move the sticks, give him some extra looks, get him lathered up, get a rhythm in and out of the huddle, things like that. That's how you get a quarterback into the rhythm. So I would assume that's what they're going to do. But yeah, Rob Domofsky also saying David Bakhtiari present but not practicing. Looks like he will play without any full reps the last couple of weeks. So interesting stuff there. We would play the David Bakhtiari stuff. We don't have that edited, do we?
Yeah, I could have stayed here until about 2 a.m. last night to bleep out all the swear words. It would have taken that long. And Bill, if you would ask me to stay late and edit the audio, I would have, but I decided to go home instead.
David Bakhtiari, Mike Clemens sent it, but David Bakhtiari made sure that it was not going to be carried live. It was a whole lot of F-bombs in that thing.
Which, by the way, we were talking about Mike Clemens and his emailing tendencies yesterday.
Yeah.
And I love Mike. This isn't me knocking him, but when he sends a bit of audio, sometimes he'll put a little note in the subject line of the email. And the Bakhtiari cut came in and it said Bakhtiari audio, parentheses, great, exclamation point, parentheses, filled with swear words. It's like, Mike, then it's not great. Then I can't play it on the radio.
Mike is letting you know to take a listen to it because it's awesome, but you can't just play it without editing it. And I'll say this, Mike does so much and gets us so much. I don't expect him to edit everything out. So for what he does, but yeah, Bakhtiari made sure that thing was not going to air live anywhere. That's for sure. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We got a lot more to get, a lot more to cover. Hang in there. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up. It's coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess. leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Kemp's is a company. It's been around a long time. You've seen it in your dairy cooler and freezers and such. And I'm sure you probably had some Kemp's products in your refrigerator at some point. And they are looking for good people. And you could be one of them. If you're looking for a new job, looking for a new career, whatever it happens to be. If you're a CDL driver, looking for drivers, maintenance technicians, also production people, cooler technicians, you name it. Kemp's, Kemps, Kemps.com. That is Kemps.com. Click on the word careers at the bottom of the page. Go to Kemps.com, bottom of the page. Click on the term careers, and then fill out the form. And you could be interviewing as soon as Monday. Who knows? Go to Kemps.com and check it out because they're looking for good people, and I'm sure you're one of them. Again, Kemps, Kemps, Kemps.com. That is Kemps.com. And see for yourself. So, I got a question here. This was asked from, let's see here. God, who asked this question? Where is it at? This is from Jason. He said, why are we really hanging on to Bakhtiari? Look, I get it. He's the top of his position when healthy, but he can't stay healthy. And we literally don't know if he is how he is feeling truly or when he is really going to play. I just think it's seriously time to move on from him. I was at 4 games last year, specifically the last 2 home games, and the last game of the year against the Lions. You could see he had checked out when he was on the bench. He wasn't sitting with the rest of the offense. He was at the end of the bench right next to the heater, so it was blowing directly on his left leg. That tells me he doesn't belong out there. I want to see him out there, but man, oh man. Okay. First of all, why you're hanging on to him is because, you can't cut him loose because you owe him a lot of money. That's first and foremost. Okay. So make no mistake about it, because he is the highest paid player for the Green Bay Packers this season. And if you cut him loose, his dead cap number is $38.8 million right now. He's a $21.2 million cap casualty this year. He's the highest paid player. The next highest paid guy is Kenny Clark at 12.9, almost $13 million. So you can't just cut him loose. Secondly, when he did play, he played well. When he did play, he played well. So I don't have a problem with David Bakhtiari, and if he can play, no matter how he gets from point A to point B, as long as he's giving you point B, who cares, right? I think we get frustrated because of the great unknown. The Packers know, though. See, you and I, we speculate, we worry, we talk about who should and shouldn't be playing, if he is or isn't hurt, and I get all that because there is legitimacy and a history to be able to dictate and tell us what is happening behind the scenes, right? Because if a guy's not practicing, usually it's because they can't. But in this particular case, the Packers legitimately could just be doing anything and everything they possibly can to take it easy, and maybe that knee's just on particular days saying no. And if he's got any aches or pains in it, maybe during the week, they're just saying, look, we'd rather take it easy and make sure that he's ready on Sunday than risk anything during the week for that thing becoming inflamed, and then you have to go to the backups. And then, Jordan Love starts for his first game under center with a weakened position at the left tackle, which is really on the offensive line the most important position. So I get it. I understand all of that. But you're on a Friday walkthrough, man. If that knee, and I'll say this too, if I'm David Bakhtiari, if you have an inkling of playing next season, if David Bakhtiari is not able to go and not able to really get it all done, then the likelihood of a team picking him up for any kind of a bigger, larger contract is going to be nil if he can't practice during the week. David Bakhtiari, to this point, though, in his career, has made almost $90 million in his career. So his career earnings, I mean, he's done okay. It's not like he hasn't made money throughout his career. He's done okay. So when so if he doesn't get the great big contract one more time, he's not going to get that. He'll probably get a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal to go somewhere, front load the 1-year deal with a 2nd-year option. If indeed he ends up he will end up leaving the Green Bay Packers next season. You would assume that the team that's going to take a heavy look at him if he decides to come back is going to be Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. That's probably where he's going to end up. He just had to wait that bypass year to get there. But he still has to prove his wares, right? Because otherwise the Jets aren't going to say, hey, we're not going to go out and blow the money on this guy if he can't even play, he can't even suit up. So we'll see. But so that's the reason you hang on to him, because of money and because when he's playing, he's good. The red flag does go up when he's not practicing on a Friday. So he's there, he's going through, kind of like a little workout on the side, but that knee, man, that thing must have been just torched. And the weird part about it is that happened in practice. New Year's Eve 2020 is when that happened. That happened in practice. Just doing a walkthrough. is when he tweaked that thing. He must have just destroyed that thing. And then there's just some guys who, once you get into evasive surgeries, their body doesn't take it very well. And that's probably what happened with David Bakhtiari. You hate to think that, for as many knee surgeries and such that Doc McKenzie has done, I can't imagine him screwing anything up. I think it's just sometimes bodies don't respond very well, or maybe damage is more than what meets the eye when you get in there. But he just hasn't responded very well to the surgery. So you hope that he's good to go come Sunday, though, because they're going to need him. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Let's go to our buddy Gerard. Gerard, what's going on there in Delaware? How you doing today, man?
Hey, Bill, we're ready. Listen, I don't think they're going to roll Love out a lot. I don't think they're going to limit the field. I think he's going to do a lot of play action, and they're going to let him, do his reads and do it that way. But the problem, this guy's been 4 years now, right? I mean, I don't think he's an imbecile. I think he should know the offense pretty well. And I think he should know his reads real well, and his checkdowns and everything else. So he has two pretty good running backs that can take a short pass and get about 10 yards with it. So, I think he'll be all right there. But here's the issue I'm having. We got Dobbs and Watson now. Do these guys ever get on the field? They got more soft tissue injuries than anything. One guy's hamstring. Look, you remember Sterling Sharp and James Lofton. Why don't they go back to talk to those two guys? Now, Sterling Sharp's career was ended because of a hit, you know what I mean? And that was totally different. Lofton was on the field all the time. So why don't they go back and talk to these guys and see what they've done with their bodies? Because Watson's similarly built to Lofton. You know what I mean? Their body types are very similar. So why don't they go back and talk to these guys and see what they did with their bodies so they weren't out with these hamstrings or groins or calves or any of this stuff? Because it's ridiculous today. With all the medical advancement today, right, Phil? Am I wrong?
No, I agree.
Why are these soft tissue injuries going over and over and over again?
Yep. No, I agree.
You can't have this. You can't have two guys that are your two main receivers not on the field. You can't have it. You can't.
I agree. The problem with the soft tissue injuries when they're prone to it is you just never know when they're fully healed, and you don't know how. I mean, part of it is with soft tissue is you don't stretch enough and you don't have enough fluids in your body and stuff like that. The other part of it is some guys, they're just prone to it for whatever reason.
But I understand that, and they are prone to it. But if they're prone to it, you can't have that. You can't have guys that are on the field 8 games, 9 games out of the year, and and then they're going to miss another 2 weeks, and you don't know if they're going to be there, and they can't practice, and they can't do this. Bill, you can't have it. I don't care how talented these guys are. But you just can't have it, and they're going to have to really look into that next year because you can't. I mean, I don't know how good Heath is going to be. I don't know how good Wicks is going to be, but Wicks is another one got a hamstring. Another guy got a hamstring. You got to be kidding me. There's got to be something that they could do about this. I mean, there has to be. And you're right. They are. They're injury prone, right? They're prone to these types of things once you get it because it's never healed right. Well, hold it then. What are they going to miss for months, 6 weeks, or whatever? Come on now. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I completely agree.
That's what bothers me the most.
And it's very frustrating, to say the very least.
Yeah, it is frustrating. But what can be done? And I would have brought that up. I said, why not? I would have said to LaFleur, I would have said to him, well, these guys seem to never get on the field because of these things. Why don't they talk to receivers, great ex-Packer receivers that has never had those issues? They never had them. And why don't they go see what they did with their bodies and everything like that? And if the coach responds, well, some people are different, then you get rid of those people that are different because they can't get on the field.
Right.
So, that's what I would do. So we'll see what happens. But that bothers me more than anything. So.
Nope, I get it,
well,
man.
Bill, Let's keep our fingers crossed. I hope to talk to you Sunday in a good way.
Right? Cross our fingers, man. Appreciate it, as always. There he goes.
Yes, sir.
Gerard in Delaware. He drops off. You get on board 877-867-1670. We got more when we come back. We'll get back to the phone calls when we come back as well. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show on the precipice of this season getting underway. I'm looking forward to it. We've got Packers football back this coming Sunday, and we will be down there in Chicago. We'll be live from the Shy Bar inside the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk Hotel. Looking forward to it. We'll be down at Soldier Field and back after for the postgame show, 6 to 8. Come on by, say hello. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. Rocking on. I'm Bill Michaels. Grant Bill's producing the program. Let's get back to the phone calls. Let's go to Tyler listening to us in Milwaukee. Tyler, how you doing today, man? What are you thinking?
Doing good, Bill. How's it going?
Doing great today. Doing great today.
All right. I got two things. First of all, David Bakhtiari. I mean, this is the same story from last year. And last year he was ranked the 10th best offensive tackle by PFF. So I mean, it's not like he isn't playing at a high level. So I mean, would you like to see him out there practicing? Absolutely, you would. But I don't really think it's too big of an issue. This is the first off season he's had where he hasn't had any surgery done to that knee. So I mean, it's just let him do what's best for the knee, and you get the best performance out of him.
I'm not too worried about it yet. What bothers me is that he's not there on a Friday, because usually Friday's an easy day. It's a walkthrough day. It's not a big deal day. So the fact that he's not there on a Friday, it's a little bit disconcerting. But other than that, no, I'm not overly concerned. We'll wait and see. I mean, the big thing is let's see how he does on Sunday, because if he comes out on Sunday and things look bad,
that's how you really know.
That's when you know if there's something
then
more
there's
wrong.
reason to be concerned.
Yeah, 100%.
But there's one other thing.
Yeah.
Now with the soft tissue injuries, it's not like Green Bay's the only team. Look around the league. It's just the nature of the league now. It's not like Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are the only wide receivers in the NFL that have hamstring injuries. The league's bigger, faster, stronger than it was 30 years ago. It's just one of those things. It's just, as I say, it's the nature of the business. You know, it's going to happen. You can't say you're going to get rid of Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs because they have a hamstring. That's just absolutely ludicrous.
Right. No, I completely agree. When you have, then again, what I am excited for, and I think this is the other side of that coin, when you've got a lot of these young guys that you really anticipate becoming something, with Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and company and Malik Heath, the way he performed, I'm kind of anxious to see what they can do. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it'll be exciting to see them. You just want, at least someone out there with experience, that's taken NFL hits and has played in an NFL game, actually knows what to expect versus, they're still preparing like they've never done it before.
Right. Yep. No, I would agree with that, man. Appreciate the phone call.
I think it'll be.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it's going to be 27-21 Green Bay.
So it's 27 points for them to score. I'll take it, because that means at least the offense is functional. Appreciate the phone call. 27 points. I'll take it. I'll be excited about that. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hell yeah. I'll take that in a heartbeat. Jake says, let's not worry too much about David Bakhtiari. Let's worry more about Christian Watson and the hamstring that's going to hamper him all season long. If it's already bothering him and keeping him out of the first game, you would assume this is going to be something that's going to be nagging. Last year, he kind of had this coming out of camp, remember? And then he ended up performing pretty well. He went down again with another injury, and then he finally got it going at the end of the season. Whether it was too little, too late by then, I don't know. But at least he got for the majority of a training camp in, but it still wasn't a great connectivity. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they were just, going after each other, him and Jordan Love on the continuum. So you were kind of really hoping that they'd get this first game in and they start to get a little bit more of a rapport, a little bit more of a timing, a little bit more of a rhythm, and maybe hit one downfield that you could really kind of latch onto, go, okay, that's what we wanted to see. Now, if he's not going to be playing in this game, now you kind of like, oh, geez, maybe that's not going to be the way to go. At least not for a while, because you're not going to develop that rapport. Makes you a little bit nervous, but I agree with you. 877-867-1670. Obviously, it hurts because I got this one's from Dave. Dave said, this hurts, but does this really matter considering they don't have a great connection? Yeah, because Christian Watson's a starter. He's one of the only guys with a little bit of experience out there. Like I said, the other side of the coin is I'm excited to see some of the young guys get out there and do their thing and see what you got, But it's just game one, man. You were hoping to have that connection. You were hoping to have all your if you want to call it the weapons, implemented, ready to go. And now you're already starting off with not one, not two, but three different guys that are not able to practice during the opening week, that are question marks, that make you raise an eyebrow. And now you're kind of going, okay, what is the mix and match going to be? And the guy, Samori Toure, who you've kind of had that, and Romeo Dobbs, who you've kind of had that relationship with. Well, Dobbs has already got, maybe a little bit of a bad wheel. Who knows? So, I hope they pull it off. And I hope we kind of see it full. But again, this is from Jam. Jam says, already built-in excuses for the Green Bay Packers to lose. Now, I don't know if you're a Bears fan or if you're a Packers fan, Jam, but it's not built-in excuses because everybody's young. It's not like it's not like Christian Watson is this legitimate downfield threat that you've had this big time connection. This is not Travis Kelce going down, for God's sakes. This is Christian Watson. He played part of a season last year, looked good, had a little bit of a rapport with Aaron Rodgers, but really never got into the rhythm, and hasn't gotten into the rhythm with Jordan Love earlier this year in preseason anyway. It's not like you're losing your number one wide receiver. That's not it. It's just another guy. It's just another body. Next man up, because the entire staff is so young. And that's the one thing we're kind of forgetting in all of this. Now, you lose David Bakhtiari. I agree. That's a whole different scenario there. Michael C says, I really want to see Green Bay firing on all cylinders and pull off a big 35-14 win or 42-21 Packers. Ryan says, do you think any of this is just a shell game to keep the Bears guessing and Watson and Dobbs actually play on Sunday? If Watson is not practicing today, chances are he's not playing on Sunday. That's always been the rule, always been the rule. By the way, Jeffrey says James Lofton ran a 4.640 at 6'3" and 187 pounds, not even close to Christian Watson. Yeah, Watson's got, 4.2, 4.3 speed. He's a little lankier, tall guy, big wingspan, big hands, lankier though, but he flat out can fly. What else do we have here before I take a break? If the Packers are to beat the Bears Sunday, it's going to be because of a stellar performance from the defense. This is about Joe Barry earning his paycheck, not the offense. That's from Tom. I hate to agree with you, but I can't disagree because of the uncertainty of the offense. Now, let's say the offensive line's intact. Bakhtiari's playing extremely well. Okay, they run the ball. Aaron Jones becomes the show. Good 1-2 punch with the fire lit under A.J. Dillon. Musgrave gets a couple of catches. Samori Toure gets a couple of catches. Dobbs gets a couple of catches. Jaden Reed gets a couple of catches. They spread the ball around, and they get a win, and the defense plays well. Okay. But I can't disagree with that statement that it's going to come down to most likely the defense playing really, really well in this contest. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. Not disagreeing with any of that at all. Hey, if you're going to go watch the game, maybe you're going to do something tonight. Maybe you're going to go get some dinner. Maybe, you know what? Maybe you can do a little romantic dinner. Gino's, Calderon Club, 838 Old World 3rd Street. Maybe you're sitting there right now and you're going, what am I going to do tonight? Going to watch a Brewers game, sit at the end of the bar, maybe go get some pizza, go to San Giorgio. Maybe you want to get the best Italian food you're ever going to put in your mouth and you're starting to crave spaghetti and meatballs, or maybe that spicy Sashina penne pasta, or maybe the chicken marsala, or just some of the best vanilla bean cheesecake you're ever going to stuff in your grill as well. All of that, Calderon Club, 838 Old World 3rd Street, downtown Milwaukee. I wouldn't steal you wrong. I'm telling you, man, everybody, last weekend, we took Tim Duffy there. He over and over again, he's like, look, I'm from New York. He said, I know the best Italian restaurants in New York. And he said, this was the best food he's had, he said, in years. That's how good it is. Calderon Club in San Giorgio, downtown Milwaukee. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month for a window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
welcome back. How we looking today on a Friday? Badgers heading into Washington. And they're looking for a little revenge after getting knocked off in kind of a battle of defenses from last season. The Badgers couldn't do much offensively and ended up taking the loss. And Grant, I'll go to you, but what are you expecting to see come tomorrow when they take on Wazoo?
I'm kind of worried. We talked about this just a couple minutes on the morning show. I don't know. This team beat them last year. And I liked what Wisconsin did in week 1. I thought they did a couple nice things, but this doesn't look like a well-oiled machine yet. And I don't know if they need to be perfect or elite to go out to Washington State and win, but I don't think this game is a gimme.
I don't think it's a gimme. I'll agree with that. I am excited because I want to see something different than what we saw. Does that make sense? I want to see secondarily not being confused, because last week we saw the secondary a little bit confused. I want to see the offense become even better, even though the run game was solid. Don't get me wrong. And they busted some big plays, but you had some balls bounce off of hands last week. And I want to see those problems corrected. I want to see those things fixed. I want to see more sure tackling up front. Things like that. All that stuff. That's kind of what I'm looking for out of all of this. So I'm excited to see that. But I get this sneaking suspicion the Packers are going to get the win. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. I kind of feel like the Packers are going to get the win in this one. I'm feeling good about it.
I think, and Luke Fickell was kind of downplaying the whole revenge narrative because Washington State got him last year.
Right.
And he was downplaying the whole idea of going out there for revenge. He's basically been saying, this year's about finishing, right? Because the Badgers had so many fourth quarter leads last year that they let slip away. If they just finish a couple of those games, they're winning a handful more games. Their season looks differently last year. So this season is about finishing. And I think that's the MO going into tomorrow out in Pullman. And I'm excited, but I think it'll be a lot closer than the Buffalo game last week. That's for sure.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm tomorrow is going to be one of those weird days because I'm doing a little bit of travel heading out to Chicago, but I'm looking forward to getting down there early, catching the game. So I'm kind of geeked over this game tomorrow. I'm excited. I think the Badgers are going to get a win. I really do. I think the Badgers are going to get the win. Let's do this. Let's go to Josh, who's on hold. Josh, welcome to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. What's going on, man?
Hello, Russ. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great. What you thinking?
Well, I excited for the Packer game on Sunday, and I think that it's going to come down to the kicker. I think that it's going to be a field goal is necessary to win, and I think that it might work and it might not with Anders Carlson on our team.
That's I never thought of that. I thought, boy, now that you bring it up, what a boost that would be if Anders Carlson hits 51-yarder to win that contest. What that would not only do for the Packers to get the win over the Bears, but also for Anders Carlson and his confidence. That might not be a bad way to end that thing, and also stick a little bit more of a dagger into the Bears and their fans, no doubt. Never thought of it ending on a field goal like that, though.
That would feel great for us. I just think that if it comes down to something like that, then I don't know how to feel with no Mason Crosby on our team anymore.
Right.
So
good point. Appreciate the phone call. That's a great point. So let's say Anders Carlson is the difference. Say if it's a 27-24 game, Packers offense looks okay, defense looks pretty good, but it comes down to a kick, and all of a sudden you're looking at all three phases of the game being okay, and they get a win. How would you feel about a 27-24 Anders Carlson walk-off field goal to end that thing down at Soldier Field, Grant? Would you feel good about that win, or would you feel bad because the Bears aren't expected to do a whole lot and you barely beat them?
Hey, I'll take any win.
Right?
I don't care how ugly. I don't care how absolutely. Yeah, I would be okay with that. It's funny that Rosh brought up the kicker because, Bill, we spent like 2 straight weeks talking about Anders Carlson about like a month and a half ago. And now that we're actually close to week 1, we haven't even thought about him. We haven't brought him up.
Right.
And we probably should. And maybe that's something we can talk about with Mike, because if they don't have Watson and maybe don't have Dobbs, maybe a lower scoring game, fewer possessions running the ball. Well, now the kicker's playing a pretty important role. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah. Interesting. I like it. I like the way he's thinking, though. I'll take it in a heartbeat. 877-867-1670. We got another hour yet to go. This next hour, coming up here in about 15 minutes, Mike Clemens going to join us, and we're going to talk a lot with Mike about the practice. We're going to talk a lot with Mike about what's going on up there, and we'll get his thoughts on all of this as the Green Bay Packers back in the practice field yet again today, and no Christian Watson, no David Bakhtiari. How concerned, in all honesty, how concerned should we be, if at all? And we'll get into that discussion coming up here in just a little bit. In the meantime, I want to remind you that we've got a lot of good things coming up, and that being this Sunday as well. We're going to be live down at the Shy Bar in the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk right after the game. I keep telling you, like us over on the YouTube channel. Hit us up on the Zone Madison, the app. Download the app. You can find us on Twitch TV, Kick TV, Facebook. Go to Facebook Live. You can always track us down, facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. In case you don't get us in an area, say, like Milwaukee, because they're going to box us out. They're going to box us out. Say, like in Green Bay, where they got their own. So you want to make sure you're listening to us. You got to do it. Any other area throughout the state that maybe carries the game, they're going to box us out. So you got to be right here. Stick with us. Stick with us. Stick with this program. Stick with myself, Mike Clemens in the locker room. We'll get all the reaction, your phone calls, your tweets, your emails, all of that stuff right after the game. Stick with us right here. Got another hour yet to go. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up, and it's coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the wait is almost over. Sunday at 3:25, the Green Bay Packers are down in Chicago to take on the Bears, and the Jordan Love era begins. Love talks on his mindset heading into week one.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely always nerves going into any game, especially the first game of the season. So I'm sure there'll be those, and it's just getting out there and getting your feet wet and being able to relax and, stay calm.
Some good news for the Packers. After wide receiver Romeo Doubs did not participate in practice on Wednesday, he was a limited participant yesterday and is on track to play on Sunday. To the college ranks, the Wisconsin Badgers are in Pullman on Saturday to take on the Washington State Cougars. Head coach Luke Fickell talks on what they must do on the road at Martin Stadium.
Specific things, offensive and defensive, that you have to do to be successful on the road is critical. And, I'm not telling you something that any other coach wouldn't tell you, but, you can't go on the road and turn the ball over. You can't go on the road and not be able to run the football. You can't go on the road and, have an incredible amount of penalties. Those are things that are really difficult when you're in an environment that's not your own to overcome.
Kickoff on ABC is tomorrow at 6:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual is the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin for a good reason. As a company founded by farmers, they understand the ag industry and its challenges. Local agents offer farm families the best advice and personalized coverage. Visit ruralmutual.com to find an agent near you.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
The Milwaukee Brewers had last night off. They currently sit just 2 games above the Cubs for first place in the NL Central and are in New York tonight. They'll be taking on the Yankees. First pitch, that's at 6:05. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in, one and all. Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show. Cranking it today. Thanks to our friends over at Point Brewing, P-O-I-N-T, Point Brewing, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. You got Oktoberfest coming up, and I did get a couple of emails and people asking for us to do stuff for Oktoberfest. We just can't at the end of the month. We got some events that got booked and got double booked, and we'd love to, and I know they're going to have a big event going on in Stevens Point with our friends from Point Brewing, who have everything from the lagers to still the blondes and the pale ales and such. And cider boys, love some cider boys, especially when we get to the fall months and we start doing the leaves of fallen, and everybody starts drinking ciders in some way, shape, or form. And they've got the best, hands down, the best. But thanks to our friends at Point Brewing and Joe Martino and the gang for being a part of the program. Good stuff. Jason says, most of you wouldn't even know if Bakhtiari was practicing if it wasn't told to you. The fascination with having your oldest offensive lineman in practice when you know about his knee is mind-numbing. Nah, it really isn't, Jason, because you have to get him and Elton Jenkins have played together. There, no doubt. Okay, they know each other. They're good that way. But you also have to understand, know, and be in tune with the cadence of the new quarterback, his tendencies. He's got to know where you're at all times, how you work, because he hasn't taken a ton of snaps. He did take starters. I will say this. Remember, go back a couple of years when the COVID toe hit for Aaron Rodgers. The guy that took all the starters reps, that was Jordan Love. Last year, after the broken thumb, Jordan Love took many of the starters reps then. So it's not like they've not worked together. So I will agree with you there. But when you're going into game day, man, you want your full complement of guys that are going to be playing in the game. You want them there on Friday. So, and it's been 2 weeks since David Bakhtiari has taken meaningful reps. So we'll see. I mean, on Sunday, if there's rust, if there's, how do I put it? If there is, an awkwardness to it. I don't know specifically the adjective I'm beginning to search for, but if there's that, then you can say, okay, maybe there needs to be some reps with him on the field with Jordan Love at the helm. But if not, if it doesn't look like they missed a beat, then who cares? I agree with you. Who cares? Let him work out and let him play on game day. And after that, call it a day. If it preserves him and he only has to go out there 17 times, take it in a heartbeat, Take it. 877-867-1670. This one's from Jack. Jack says, hey, guys, we're making a lot of Bakhtiari. What about Christian Watson, though? If Christian Watson doesn't start getting starters reps on the continuum, he says, then he is merely going to fade off, because isn't the connection between Romeo Doubs and Jordan Love stronger anyway? But yet Christian Watson is supposed to be our number one. How do you feel about that? You are correct. Just because he's a higher draft choice with speed and downfield capability doesn't necessarily mean that he has to be the number one. But that's what you like. Tua wants Tyreek Hill. Joe Burrow wants Jamar Chase. Right? Kirk Cousins wants Justin Jefferson. Josh Allen wants Stephon Diggs. Right? That's your guy, your downfield guy. That's the connection you want to have. When Tom Brady finally got Randy Moss and they had that legitimate downfield threat, that was his guy. So yes, it might not be a big deal, but in the grand scheme of things, it is. You want that rapport, because that's the most dynamic football player when it comes to pass catching you have. And you want to be able to utilize that. And you want to feel comfortable. You want to be able to feel comfortable enough to throw the ball downfield and just say, you got to go get it. Because if he doesn't have the ability to go get it, then you're not going to have the trust in him to throw the damn ball to him. Right? That play last night that Marquez Valdez-Scantling had, sliding across the middle to catch that pass as time was winding down in the first half from Patrick Mahomes, that was a lot of trust. That was a lot of trust. You want that kind of rapport. And having Christian Watson kind of sidelined by a hamstring issue, that's not the way to go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Love to hear from you. Interesting stuff. I've got another email here, and who's this from? This is from Stephen A. Stephen A says, first of all, he says, I'm not that Stephen A. Okay. Not that I thought you were.
Well, that was my question. So
was
thank
it?
you
Okay.
for clarifying.
Yeah. He says, I'm not that Stephen A. He said, I'm glad football is back. I'm not glad that the Packers are going into this contest a little bit banged up already. Didn't they have hamstring issues last year that hampered them out of the chute, and Aaron Rodgers had to deal with it? That was Aaron Rodgers. This is Jordan Love. I can't imagine he's going to be able to overcome these issues. How come these issues are cropping up now and weren't cropping up 2 weeks ago? What happened in between that suddenly guys are not being able to practice? Well, we don't know. I mean, Bakhtiari, we're going to hear from Mike Clemens coming up here shortly. We'll get some of the Bakhtiari stuff, and Mike's going to talk to us about it. But we don't know what happened with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. Like all of a sudden they just, you didn't get the inkling that there was problems, and then come Wednesday this week when they went out for practice, and as Mike Clemens said, these guys aren't there. Where'd they go? What happened? I mean, even Mike was asking questions. So we'll talk to Mike coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But yeah, it's a little bit disconcerting. We're going to hear, Mike's going to tell us a little bit about Jordan Love, David Bakhtiari. We're going to hear from, the Bears, Matt Eberflus as well, Joe Barry, Darnell Savage Jr. All of that's coming up. Estenovich, all of that's coming up. We even hear a little bit from Justin Fields. So when Mike joins us, we'll get all of that coming up here in about 5 minutes. So stay tuned. What else do we have? This one's from Tenna. Never mind. They're replying to each other over on the live stream. Rick says, would you spend 3 first-round draft choices for Marvin Harrison Jr. if Watson isn't the end-all, be-all? Not 3. But I'd go 2. If you got to move up, a first and a second, yeah, I'd do that. First and a second or 2 firsts. If you knew Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be there for the taking, yeah, he's probably going to be the best, if not one of the top 2 or 3 wide receivers coming out this year. Absolutely. Absolutely. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Want to hear from you. But that's a good point. Yeah, if you went with Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out, what would it take to get him? Now, again, you have to make a decision, because what happens if Jordan Love's not the real deal? And say Arizona isn't as bad to get the number 1, but say Houston's bad again, and they've got C.J. Stroud, but things just aren't working down there. They need more weapons. They don't need another quarterback. Would you trade with Houston 2 number 1s to get Caleb Jones? You probably would, right? Think about that. Rick says, I think Harrison could be in the top 3 drafted. Well, no doubt you're going to have to move up to get it. Well, you got to hope, though. You hope you're not one of those teams that are sitting there in the top 3, right? Otherwise, things have gone horrifically wrong. Robert and Chris say, unit the Packers 23-16 over the Bears. The Bears are the ones who need this game and to shake off the past. Slight indemnation. Same old Bears. Brett says, don't forget Houston's pick belongs to Arizona. That's right. You're right. Yeah, Arizona's got a couple of them. Oof. But then again, if Arizona's going to be hell bent on getting rid of their quarterback, and they're going to move on, and they pick up Caleb Williams, that means you still have Marvin Harrison Jr. sitting there. You still have the ability to move up and get him. And Rick says, by the way, if we're in the top 3, it's because Love sucked, and that I would agree with as well. No doubt. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a break. We're going to because I want to get everything we can with Mike Clemens, okay? So Mike's going to join us coming up here in the next segment. Do not forget, we are going to be live. We're going to be at the Shy Bar down inside the Sheridan Grand River Walk coming up on Sunday. So right now, you go, you like, and follow us and subscribe on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels, Michaels, Bill Michaels Show. Go there and subscribe. Or you download the app, WOZN. The Zone, Z-O-N-E, The Zone Madison. You download the app and you get it. That way, no matter where you're at in the state of Wisconsin or well beyond the borders, you can get the postgame show, the Green and Gold postgame show, right here on many of these same stations. And if it's not on your station, this way you have it. You want the biggest, you want the baddest, you want the best, you want it right here. That's what we're going to give you coming up right after the Packers and the Bears coming up on Sunday. Good stuff. Mike Clemens going to be joining us next on the Bill Michaels Show. Hang in there.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Pressure coming. Scrambles to his right. Pumps and runs. Aaron Rodgers is inside the pylon. Touchdown Packers. It's Rodgers running for the score.
Right on cue, Joe. He had some choice words there for the crowd.
I looked up in the stands, and in the front row, all I saw was a woman giving me the double bird.
Talker. Honestly, I mean, he just, like you said, last time he came here, he was saying he owned us and talking to the fans a certain way. So, I mean, we got to find a way to get that taste out of our mouth.
Got to get it out. Got to get it out. That's a damn shame. Got a new quarterback in town. New sheriff looking to own you. How we looking? Bill Michaels Show. Bringing him in now. Our guy, Mike Clemens. And Mike and I will be down in Chicago this coming weekend. Looking forward to it. The Green and Gold Postgame Show right here on many of these same stations. And if it's not, then you let them know about it. And you find us over on the app on the WOZN, the Zone Madison, or on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show, or Twitch or Kick or however else you want to consume the program. Mike Clemens joining us now on the hotline. Michael, how you doing?
Looking forward to our annual trip, Bill. And part of the reason is because we've been able to cover a win the last 8 times in a row. That's a beautiful thing.
Right?
That's an easy thing.
Food tastes better and the
fun
drinks
tradition
are
there.
wetter and colder when that happens.
They are. They absolutely are. So, it's Bear Week. And, if you're over 30, you understand what that is. And if you're over 40 or 50 and you remember Charles Martin and Jim McMahon and all those, and even way back to like in the 80s when, our buddy Gary Ellison would talk about how Forrest Gregg and Mike Ditka would meet off in the tunnel at Soldier Field and start yelling at each other and stuff.
Yeah.
This is a rivalry. So we've kind of spent the week, though, talking to 22, 23-year-olds because that's all that's in the Packers locker room today anyway.
Right.
Right? Is just trying to get a sense of it. And, to me, it's like, okay, from those of us from Wisconsin, if somebody said, oh, man, that Alabama, LSU, what a rivalry there. Well, we don't live in the South, so we don't feel it, eat it, breathe it. Somebody has to tell us that on the TV. And I think some of our listeners say, well, you guys and me, you're just trying to hype this up. No, ask the fans. Ask the people that are between the border. And look at the stories over the years of the games. Now, one thing that kind of diffuses it a little bit is when you find out the 2 young starting quarterbacks for these 2 teams, they're actually friends. We asked Jordan Love, I thought I saw something. You hang out with Justin Fields in the off season?
Yeah, no, me and Justin, we got the same agent, so we do a good amount of things just with our agent and with our agency getting together. But no, I haven't talked to him at all this week. Probably talk to him, after the game or maybe before. Yeah, and I'm excited for it. It's always exciting to open the season, get the first game on rolling. But for an NFC opponent, rivalry game, it'll be very exciting playing there in their stadium. So I'm sure it'll be a packed house. Everybody will be excited for week 1 and ready to put on a show.
Mike, we assume, now correct me if I'm wrong, but we assume that Christian Watson not going to be playing, right?
Yeah, we just came from practice. He was there in a jersey, but I mean, he wasn't participating.
Right.
Honest to God, I think that's for show.
Really?
I mean, I know players I think players want to be there for their team, and observe what's going on and get familiar with anything the coaches are talking about for the game plan. But I don't think I'll bet you there's a little cat and mouse game where they want the Bears to say, "Oh, he was there. Looks like he's making progress." They'll all have to make their declarations about 3:00 this afternoon if it's questionable, if it's doubtful. But yeah, we came into the week knowing that Romeo Doubs had tweaked his hamstring. Pretty much Jordan Love's number 1 target, the guy seems to have the most chemistry with, and to the point where it was at the end of camp that they sat him for the Seattle game, and that was really the first red flag. We had something's going on. We got told, not officially, that it's a hamstring. So when you show up to Wednesday's practice and it's not only Doubs that's out, but you've got Watson out, I say, oh my, come on, man. There's only 2 receivers over here from last year. What are you giving Jordan Love to work with? And so, like I was talking about from practice yesterday, for some reason I got this flashback to a time when LaFleur had to take the Packers down to Kansas City, and it ended up being a game where it was right after Mahomes had that dislocated knee. But whatever, Packers desperately needed that game, and they went down there. And Rodgers, he was short on receivers, so there was one play he had where he hit Aaron Jones deep down the left-hand side for like 50 yards, key play. And then later, he finds his other running back, Jamal Williams, in the back of the end zone, makes a tremendous arcing throw. Williams made a tremendous catch. And so, points and yardage from both his running backs. So I said to Jordan Love, how's his timing been with Aaron Jones as a receiver?
It's been good. It's been something that we've been working on, but he's an explosive player in the run game and the pass game. So it's definitely the guy we got to get the ball to, get the ball in his hands, and let him go do what he does, make plays. But it's just one thing we got to keep working on. He obviously doesn't catch a lot of passes and do things in practice. But the more we can get him, running routes, doing things that he'll do in the game is awesome. But the more we can use him, the better.
Mike, they're going to have to rely, because he's really the only veteran pass catcher they have that's got, numerous catches under his belt. You know what I mean?
That's right. As for Jordan Love, we said, all right, here it is, man. You waited 3 years. Here's your first start. Aaron Rodgers is out of the building. Are you nervous? And he admitted, yeah, kind of nervous. I asked him, do you play music or anything like that? And he said, yeah, I play some music. He wouldn't tell us. Do you remember when Brady Popinga was asked, what do you do having those headphones, music? And he said, yeah, I play Enya. Remember?
Right.
Enya, yeah. So we still remember that. So David Bakhtiari was there at his locker. He talked to us for like 20 minutes yesterday. And so he was asked, we've seen we've seen Rasul Douglas and Jair Alexander both, trying to rattle Jordan Love every day in practice, trash talking him, having fun with him, trying to get under his skin. And they say, man, we can't get the guy rattled. So we asked David Bakhtiari, is Jordan Love as cool, calm, and collected as everyone else says that he is?
I don't know what everyone else is saying. He seems like a complete wreck to me. He's neurotic. There's so many times I'm like, dude, will you just fucking relax, stop stuttering, and just get the play? No, he's been great. He's chill. It's Jordan, which I love and respect. I remember when he first got in, I purposely would mess with him every day by design. It wasn't part of it was a little bit just for my own personal pleasure, but by design, I wanted to try and rattle him because I want to see I always like to see what kind of makeup guys are. They're quick to freak out. I'm like, well, that was pretty easy, which I'm not a huge fan of. You can even go ask Elton early on. I gave him the ringer. Ask Zach Tom. I definitely would purposely. I wanted to see kind of what guys have got, and if they show some fortitude early, then I'm going to push harder and harder because I just want to see what their breaking point is, or what point they start having a little bit they start squirming. The longer it takes, I think it's a good element for a successful player.
I like that. And with David Bakhtiari, very knowledgeable, obviously, as a veteran, Mike. On the other hand, we are wondering if he's even going to be okay to play, because we all know that he has missed practice. He's not there again today. And we know that Friday is usually the big walkthrough day. So as Rob Domofsky stated, it's going to be a full 2 weeks with this guy without him taking any meaningful snaps in any practice at all. He's just basically sitting on the sidelines and riding a bike. That's about it.
August 30th was his last time out there at practice. And so, we asked him and Matt LaFleur on missing practice all week because of that left knee.
We've been doing it for a while, so it's just, getting back for that. I when Matt is saying it, I feel bad because I wish I could come, but there is no rhyme or reason for anything. We're just, there's some days where it will, and then some days it won't. And, if you want to get a beat, good luck, because I don't even know what the beat is. I'm the one doing it, so.
Fluid is his favorite.
Yeah.
It's going to be fluid. I think we've learned that by now. It'll be fluid.
I'm not a huge fan of that one.
I know.
Yeah. Mike, are they still draining this thing continuously?
I get the feeling they are. And I think, isn't that funny but sick humor from LaFleur?
Right.
Teasing the guy that he's got to drain his knee all the time.
Right. That is, and again, I talked about it earlier. Some guys, they handle surgery, no big deal. They're in and out. It's great. Other guys, for whatever reason, once there's something evasive that goes on in their body just never adapts very well to that. But when you're getting fluid continuously drained off of your knee, that usually there's something there. You know what I mean?
Well, they still think that if he feels like he's 100% and can go and puts that brace on, he's still, their best option at left tackle, and still feel he's one of the best in the league. And by the way, he's under contract, so they're investing a lot of money in him anyway to get out there and play on Sundays and protect Jordan Love and open up that left side for Aaron Jones and company. So Bakhtiari says, he even gets teased by some of the old guys in the training room about Chad Clifton, longtime left tackle during the Favre and start of the Aaron Rodgers era. Remember, Mark Tauscher, the right tackle, used to call Chad Clifton the big Lamborghini because they only took him out for drives on Sundays, right?
Right.
So we asked So another guy that went through this was Brian Bulaga, and so we asked Bakhtiari, you ever talk to Bulaga about how he managed that torn ACL?
Some routines work for people and some people don't. So I know I talked to Brian, and I've had good conversations in the training room. They've even given me in the past of like certain guys, and like they joke around, call me Cliffy now, which is I think funny. But we all have one goal in mind. It's for me to be at my best and play to put the Green Bay Packers in the best situation. And we have the same goal, so that's the best thing that we can do.
I like Mike, the fact that there's an optimism there and he understands the situation. Again, handling it like a very good veteran. I appreciate all of that. On the other hand, I am anxious about Sunday. I want to see the new young guys produce. I want to see Bakhtiari out there. I want to see Jordan Love have every opportunity to be able to throw the football without having that heavy level of pressure. And to do that, David Bakhtiari is going to have to be healthy.
Also during training camp, a lot of the younger players, the guys trying to make the team, they were out there and present to talk to the media, maybe making their case. They were actually the story too. Are you going to make the team? What's it take to make the team, etc. They have now recessed. They have let the veterans step forward. It's now big boy time. We are into the season. And the veterans that are in there, the few that are left, they're like Bakhtiari. They're having fun. Let's have some fun. Because you know what? Their bodies feel okay. It's not December. It's September, and they're kind of excited to play. They've got some juice. They're feeling good. They're in a good mood. The coaches have got a little bit of rest. They're not as cranky as they get when it gets to be November and December. So everyone's had a little bit of fun. But certainly, they're going to turn on the switch and give it all. But here's something I thought was really interesting. So if Bakhtiari can't go or has to drop out of the game, they feel pretty good about this Rasheed Walker, who suddenly stepped up from end of the line and injured last year. And I think he only had 4 snaps, and maybe that was special teams, to earning the backup left tackle job for the Green Bay Packers. And then the Zach Tom, who we talked about right out of the gate, he could play almost any position and did at times last year on offensive line. He earned and locked down the right tackle position. And then you start looking around and saying, what happened to Josh Nijman, man? What happened to, Jesus, he's getting paid $4 million this year, and they're not even talking about him. So Adam Stenovich, your offensive coordinator, former offensive lineman and former offensive line coach for this team, he was asked about where's Josh Nijman at these days?
Where does Josh kind of fit into the puzzle right now?
Yeah, right now he's a backup tackle for us, and that's where he's at. And football is a very competitive sport, and some guys rise to that competition and some guys don't. So that's basically all I have to say about that.
That is as much of condemnation, Mike, as I went back to when Aaron Rodgers was asked about Amari Rodgers, and he said, he's our punt returner, right? Exactly. That's a very condemning statement. They must be to the point where now we're just going to call him out. And if he responds,
we had been talking to Steno for 15 minutes, and we're kind of checking off the boxes. We got to that topic. He said that, and you could hear a pin drop. I mean, it was a mic drop moment. And, the PR person said, any further questions? And we're like, no, we're good.
Wow.
Your witness. We're done. Thank you much.
That's a serious note of condemnation there. Let's do this. We're going to step away. We got Mike Clemens on the line with us, taking us the rest of the way. Don't forget, we are going to be live coming this Sunday from the Shy Bar down inside the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk Hotel. And if you're going to be a Packers fan heading down to Chicago to catch the game, I suggest you hang out there with us. We're going to be there. We're going to have a great time. And also, they've got some great room rates as well. Don't forget also about doing some Christmas shopping in the holiday season down there. But don't forget, we're going to be on the air with the Green and Gold postgame show immediately following the Packers and the Bears. Mike Clemens, yours truly, and Grant. Everybody's going to be here. Stay tuned. We got more with Mike Clemens coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We wanted to make Mitch play quarterback. We knew they had a lot of weapons. We knew they were dangerous. We knew all of those things, but we knew if we could make Mitch play quarterback, that we'll have a chance.
Make him play quarterback. Make Mitch play quarterback. Welcome back to the program. We are sitting here talking with our guy, Mike Clemens, on the line. And Mike in Green Bay. We're getting ready to head down to Chicago. And Mike, as always, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable, and right there in Green Bay. Perfect for a family stay or maybe a weekend if you're going to be watching some Packers action. And the Bay Family Restaurant featuring homestyle cooking 7 days a week. Their chili's fantastic. Check out the Bay Motel, 1301 South Military Avenue in Green Bay. Call them today for reservations, 920-494-3441, 920-494-3441, or go to baymotelgreenbay.com. That's baymotelgreenbay.com. So, Mike, as we get ready for this game coming up this weekend, obviously it's a rivalry, but both of these quarterbacks looking to make a statement. Jordan Love looking to take over where the last two Hall of Famers left off. And then you got Justin Fields, who a lot of people are saying this is kind of his prove-it year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, Chicago Bears fans in Illinois, taking another bite of deep dish and weeping because they think they've got yet another Chicago Bear quarterback bust. I don't think so. I thought that Justin Fields played with an awful lot of heart last year. There were times I saw that kid get hit a seventh or eighth time in a game. His ribs had to be killing him, and he got him up off the field and still played and finished games. So, they need to keep him in the pocket. Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, who was a longtime assistant here in Green Bay, has got to figure out how to get him protection. And then, they've tried to get some weapons for him as well. So Justin was in a press conference the other day, and they were talking about that exciting game that you and I covered December 4th, where the Packers, at the end of the third quarter, they were losing. And somewhere that defense flipped a switch and got some turnovers and started hitting people, and that kind of got special teams and the offense going as well. And we kind of thought that sort of got the Packers as a whole out of its malaise. They ended up winning 28-19. And so Justin was asked about some of those things you did last year at Soldier Field against this Packers team. Can you build on that?
Justin, your second game last season against Green Bay was one of your more complete outings of the year. When you go back and look at that, what do you see? What jumps out to you in terms of what created some of that success momentum?
I think the O-line did a good job, protecting that game. We had a lot of explosive plays that game. We did pretty good on third down too. So really just all you need to be successful in a game. Explosive plays, great protection from the O-line, and situational execution. Third down, go zone. That's what we're going to have to do to win this game. And, if you do that every game, then you're going to, pretty much have a good game. So.
Mike, Matt Eberflus, obviously you want to see your quarterback, be the weapon, but then again, you don't want to see him out running around all over the place because last year he did get beat up and he did get hurt eventually. So, the question then becomes, can the Packers kind of contain him, keep him in the pocket, and make him be a quarterback rather than a runner?
Yeah, and, Justin Fields ends up rushing for 1,000 yards last year, probably because he was running for his life, and he's a good runner. I don't know about that Bears offensive line yet. they came under a lot of question. Braxton Jones, Cody Whitehair, still there. Lucas Patrick, the former Packer, he'll be the center on Saturday. So Matt Eberflus, the head coach, has talked about, do you get a sense now that teams are just going to figure that Justin's going to run with the ball? So their first thing is just contain the quarterback and let him throw from the pocket, just like Mitch Trubisky, let him play quarterback. And here's what the head coach of the Bears said.
Yeah, you could potentially see that. We'll just have to adjust to see what they give us. We're not sure. I mean, we anticipate that, and sometimes you have to have a plan for. Well, not sometimes, you have to have a plan for both. They're going to play them straight up, or they're going to do what they did last year. So, again, the effectiveness of the run game and the pass game will dictate that. And I think that's going forward. That's going to be something we're going to have to look at.
So, I mean, obviously they want to keep him in the pocket and they don't want him to get beat up either. But then again, Joe Barry and that defense, Mike, they're going to have to contain the wide receivers because they do have a better core of pass catchers down there, somebody for Justin Fields to actually throw to now. But I like the fact that when we were listening to Joe Barry's presser a little bit earlier, Mike, that the word aggressive and it was used probably about 7 or 8, maybe 9 times. And then I quit counting. I like the fact that they keep talking about being more aggressive, being more energetic, getting into the face of the wide receivers, getting into the face of the quarterback, because Brian Gutekunst talked about pressure all offseason. And it sounds like that message has been heard.
Right. And also, Matt LaFleur is trying other things with Joe Barry, like saying, why don't you do this from the press box? Maybe you could see the field better. A lot of guys say that. Joe said he had never been in the press box. When we were in Cincinnati this summer during preseason, I asked LaFleur at the end of the press conference, was Joe Barry up in the coach's box today? And he looked at me like, yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah. That's something new. And then when the next time we talked to Joe Barry, he said, yeah, he kind of convinced me. And you know what? I could see the field great. By the way, do you know how I found that out? It was not because I was scanning the sidelines with my binoculars and realized that Joe Barry wasn't there. It's because 5 minutes before the kick, I saw Joe Barry in the press box getting a bowl of Skyline chili. It's the truth. And I thought, wait a minute. It's 5 minutes to the kick. He must be up in the press box today because there's no way he's going to make it to the sideline.
Right.
Getting that bowl of chili. So we asked Joe Barry about the new weapon that they have brought Justin Fields, and that's the wide receiver they traded for from the Carolina Panthers, DJ Moore. And here's what Joe said.
You know what he was in Carolina. You know him by reputation, but how exactly are they going to use him? It's always, there's always uncharted and unscripted looks that you have to defend in the preseason. So really good player. It's a guy that we're going to have our antennas on all the time, our antennas up all the time, knowing where he's at, because he's a guy that can change the game.
Well, I get it, but the other guy that's probably going to be, charged with trying to bring him down is going to be Darnell Savage Jr. It's amazing, Mike, that we're talking about the safety position in the secondary. Darnell Savage Jr. found his way into the doghouse last year for a period of time, and now he's the most veteran guy you're depending on to be the starter and to be the anchor back there in that secondary.
Kind of scary. I also think if the Bears are smart, they'll get DJ Moore short over the middle and then let him worry about, yards after the catch, because that's what he's great at. But I knew that DJ Moore was out of Maryland. I didn't realize that he roomed with Packers safety Darnell Savage until he told us about that.
DJ, he plays really. We were at Maryland together, roommates, all that kind of thing. Great locker room guy. He plays really hard, and obviously, he's got a lot of production. Just with his years in Carolina and that sort of thing. And he's one of those guys where I don't really think that there's necessarily like a system for him. You just give him the ball and just let him work. So we got to be ready to tackle. He definitely brings a big play kind of threat. So yeah.
Mike, when you talk about Darnell Savage, I mean, Adrian Amos was the guy that was anchoring that for the last few years, and he was going into Soldier Field, knew that place extremely well, being a former Bear. Now Darnell Savage has to walk out of that tunnel and beat a man.
Yeah, and I was also trying to get a sense of this. There are so many 22 and 23-year-olds on this Packers roster now. Hey, and they're from all over the country. They don't have a real feel or clue or families that understand a Bear-Packer rivalry and why the NFL scheduled this game, because it's going to be a huge appeal nationally. And I said, some of these ugly signs that I see, or even when you saw Aaron Rodgers gets flipped off by not only the men, but the women
right.
in the south end zone when he scored that touchdown. And so I talked to Savage about that.
On game day, when you walk into that stadium, aren't there signs from the way
yeah.
carried? Then it kicks and you say, oh.
Yeah, you feel it. I mean, and it's not even necessarily when you walk into the stadium. It's driving to the stadium. It's in the bus, so you see all the people tailgating, that kind of thing. It's a good feeling, though. Honestly, it's kind of like a us against the world kind of feeling, And I feel it feels good because it kind of brings us closer together because we know we all we got. We in this big stadium by ourselves, essentially. Obviously, Packer fans travel very well. We hope to hear some Go Pack Go chants on Sunday. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things, man. It's a special thing. This Bears Packers kind of thing. So
when you're down on the field and you got women in the stands flipping off Aaron Rodgers, that's an indication.
Yeah, absolutely. They like I said though, that's the thing about just these two organizations, just the fan base behind them is so deep and so rooted and so strong, it just goes back to time and time again, so it just makes it all the more better.
Mike, we had a caller that called up a little earlier and said, what if it comes down to a field goal? And then you're talking about the new process and Anders Carlson hitting one. Or maybe a big punt that puts it out, puts it down inside the 20 or what have you. I mean, you've got, obviously your new punter being your new holder as well. So, I mean, a lot's riding on the special teams in this thing too.
And a year ago, Matt LaFleur was so frustrated about what he was getting from punters that they went and got the Bears' Pat O'Donnell. Great, dependable, directional kicker. Veteran, 10 years in the league, played all those years outdoors in Chicago, holding for Robbie Gould, then last year for Mason Crosby. But they went with this Daniel Whelan kid who grew up in Ireland and didn't know what football was till he moved to the States when he was 13. And as I've said, this kid did kick some of the highest, tightest spiral punts I've ever seen on a Packers practice squad. And I asked Rich Bisaccia, what did you see in this kid?
Well, we looked at him, we evaluated him coming out of school, I think at UC Davis, and he's got a big leg. He's athletic. He can kick off, which is a bonus. You saw him do that in the preseason game. So I think he's gotten a little better control over the direction. He's got a little better control over his drop, being such a long levered, man that is kind of dropped at times is getting pushed inside, I think, before he came here. And hopefully he's done a better job with his drop. So again, he's just got to play. Getting played in a windy situation in Chicago. It's always windy there. And then, if you look at the first game last year, it was a deluge down there in Chicago, right? It was crazy weather. So you never know what you're going to get. And we'll just have to see how he plays in some critical situations as the games transpire.
Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back. We'll wrap it up. Mike Clem is joining us on the hotline. Mike and I are both going to be down in Soldier Field this coming weekend. The Green and Gold postgame show coming to you live from the Sheraton Hotel Riverwalk coming up on Sunday evening. So make sure you stop by or maybe get a room down there. Tell them we sent you as well. We certainly would appreciate it. We got a lot more. The Bill Michaels Show, wrapping it up, taking a look at the Packers and the Bears next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, made sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
This was a tough environment to come play in, and that's why I'm excited, because I can't wait to get back to Ford Field, because you know how loud that is. I know our place is going to be louder than this. Unbelievable, everything.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Mike Clemens joining us on the line. Final segment of the Bill Michaels Show before we get out of here today. And that was Dan Campbell talking about his team last night. They were underdogs going into that thing, and they ended up pulling off a bit of an upset. Granted, Kansas City didn't play great, but nevertheless, they gritted one out, and they go to 1-0 in the NFC North. And, Mike, a win's a win. I remember Irv Favre used to tell me all the time, you don't apologize for blank. You just take the win and get the hell out. And that's what they did last night.
Hey, Bill, they went against the defending Super Bowl champions in that noisy Arrowhead Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs were 4.5-point favorites. Detroit hardly ever gets in prime time. But Dan Campbell has been selling motivation there now for over 2 years. By the way, he's 4-0 against the Packers, and it's working. And he had those guys coming out, slamming people around. The offensive line still looks good. And the difference is, to my eye, the offense got faster. They got faster.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs looks like a really good running back, too.
And then he's rolling the dice. It's early in the game, and it's 4th down, like 4th and 2. He's got his punter backed up at his own goal line, and he calls for a fake punt. And the personal protector takes it, runs up the middle. They get a first down. They go 91 yards and like 14 plays while Patrick Mahomes is watching this on the sidelines, keeping him on the sidelines. That was a hell of a game.
Yeah.
And, there are days where Dan Campbell reminds me of the latest Ditka.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, just by the way he speaks, the tough guy type of, bravado that he brings. Yeah, I completely agree. He's a hell of a motivator, no doubt. He's got those guys believing, Mike. I mean, what is it, 9 of their last 10 or something like that they've won?
Yeah, and the other thing is, I was thinking about the players. Everybody in the league, they're home, they're watching this, they're getting ready for their Sunday game, or Aaron Rodgers is getting ready for his Monday night game against the Giants. And that was such a great, hard-hitting, good, balanced football game. It was a wake-up call, like, oh, man. Mm-hmm. They played at a really nice level of football for week 1. The referees let them play. The referees made a couple of mistakes. That was great entertainment. I'll tell you what, that football is going to be the savior of these TV networks that are struggling, still without a writer strike, no new shows.
Right.
I mean, football is the only new thing on TV right now.
No, I completely agree. Mike, before I let you go, give me your thoughts on the game coming up this Sunday.
I'm taking Packers, even though we just got official word Christian Watson is out, and could be out for maybe a couple of weeks with his hamstring. It took them. They found this out a week ago, so the Packers coaches have had a whole week to plan without him. Romeo Doubs will be in there. Dontavian Wicks, who's kind of a Dobbs type of receiver, a rookie. He'll probably get more of those snaps. And then, of course, you've got these other weapons. You got Luke Musgrave to throw to, and Jaden Reed, number 11.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is where that kid can shine. I've been talking him up about during training camp. You've seen some flashes during the preseason. So big game for number 11. I also think somebody is going to return a kick in this game from both teams. Between Keyshawn Nixon and the Bears, there's some good returners out there.
Mike, great stuff. I'll see you tomorrow as we head down to Chicago, pal.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. Tonight, you got Brewers baseball. Brewers are in the Bronx, and they're taking on the Yankees. You've got the Cubs today right now, scoreless, bottom of the third with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Keeping an eye on that game. Coming up tomorrow at 6:30 Central Time on ABC, the 19th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers on the road in Pullman, Washington, at Martin Stadium. They're going to be taking it on tomorrow night, and then you've also got the Packers and the Bears 3:25 kickoff from Soldier Field. We got a full weekend. That'll do it. Time for us to go. Time for us